Hello, chat. How are we doing tonight? How we doing? Hi, Crenshaw. Oh my goodness. I have been a very busy guy today, which means I didn't write the recap, but, that's okay, because I skimmed last chapter, so I can recap roughly. I've been working all day on the anime opening multi-universe thing. Do you guys want to see the thing in full? It's like not fully done, but do you guys want to see the full thing in the progress that it's in right now before we go into the chapter? I got copyright claimed last time, but YouTube has a thing where you can like trim out the copyrighted stuff, so if there's like a weird cut, if you're watching the YouTube VOD and there's like a weird cut, you'll know why. But it's okay, I can let me give a little show real quick. Hi, Lunar. I'm showing off the anime opening thing that I'm working on. And I removed any like kind of spoilery information in the script. But some of the visuals you just gotta think don't think too hard about it. It's supposed to be kind of vague. But yeah, I'll show real quick. Oh, I was so excited. I can't wait to finish this bit. I'm gonna make it look really fucking dramatic. It's gonna be nice. I also did the I just like how the card came out. I just like how the card looks. It's not really spoilers if it's vague. It's vague. This is honestly, when this gets posted, this is gonna be like a trailer. Like if you're gonna watch that, here's the plan. I post this onto my YouTube channel. It doesn't get a huge amount of views because it's not Minecraft YouTube. But then people are like, "Oh my god, what is this?" And then I'll just be like, "By the way, so I read this whole thing out loud on my VOD channel. If you want to go subscribe over there and look at it and read where this is from or listen to where this is from." It's an advertising ploy, right? That's the goal. That's actually not the goal. I wanted to do this, but that'll be the link. Well, I'm glad you asked. It's an advertisement. So yeah, but I finished this. Well, the shot isn't finished, but so I moved the shot with them in winter to over here, and then I ended up adding this shot in with Rose that I still need to finish. I need to add something to the picture frame, and I need to clean up the images and stuff. But I really like how this looks. I did the floating like. It looks so good. It looks so good. I'm very happy with it. And the colors came out nice. It makes it a lot easier to see what you're thinking. It looks so cool. Thank you. I like having the script descriptions that I can like slowly fill things in. But some things I can't really get like a clear eye on until I actually like draw it. I also did 2 variants of the dragon eye. I think I like the other one more, but this one is more like, you'll see. So this is one of them, and then the other one is like a slow opening. So it'll kind of depend on what the scenes around it will end up looking like. Because if the scenes around it are slower, then having like a fast snap open will work. But if the other scenes are faster, then having the slow open will be a nice little break. But these shots are going to go very, very fast. I'm probably even going to have more shots. Like, I have these distinctions as, like, each of them are different shots. But it's probably going to be even more cut up than that. Because, like, if you look at even the original opening, which I have down here, I'll just play... I'll kind of mute some of these. Just, like, note how many times, like, there's a cut, right? We'll, like, start from, like, over here. I'll just, yeah. Like, note how many times that the thing cuts up. Cut, cut, oops, shit, fuck. Ah! Misclick. Cut, 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 cut. Like, this is, it's, like, quite fast. That was what, like, you know, 7 or 8 cuts in this very, very small portion. So a lot of anime openings are more fast-paced than we think that they are. Like, cut here, cut here, cut, 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 cut. Anyways, so yeah, so I'm just kind of trying to keep that in mind. So when I actually take into account the proper pacing of the opening, I try to still kind of match an anime opening vibe, and not having shots that last too long. There's gonna be some shots, like there's a couple, like these ones over here, with like Carcat and Dave, and then Carcat and Solux are gonna have these like longer chunks, but even then I think these are going to have like multiple little cuts in them. It's just going to be one kind of universal moment. I still don't even know. I wrote moment in italics. This is just supposed to me, it's supposed to be some sort of hint of a romance thing. I don't fucking know what I'm going to do for it yet. But because originally this end part was all going to be the dream that Carcat has about Roxy, in the chessboard and the 2 thrones. Like, it was all, this whole thing was going to be that. But then I realized that, like, and I'm instead I'm just going to have these, like, cuts that imply stuff about that. So this is a cut about it, this is a cut about it, this is a cut about it, and then this one is a cut about it. But then I have other stuff. And then this is going to be a reference to the deal. So yeah, anyways, that's a little summary of the stuff I did today. Maybe if I'm feeling it, we'll work a little bit on it after we finish writing. I'm pretty sure it's 3 thrones because Carcat is the one. I got him. And nice laughs. All right. Okay. So I just wanted to show that what I was working on. But we will hop into the summary. And maybe if I'm feeling it after stream, if I'm not too tired, I'll do a little bit of animating, if you guys want, after we wrap. Maybe not. Maybe I will. I don't know. I'm not promising anything, because usually, if anything, I like to work in. I've realized I like to work listening to like streams, or music, and sometimes it's hard to do that on. I can't listen to other people's streams on stream, but music I can listen to fine. But then I also feel like I need to talk to my process, and sometimes that can be when it's this late. We get this and the Problems Animatic. I love the Problems Animatic so much. I can't wait to watch it after we finish. Big fan. All right, let's quick recap. No worries, Arch. Have fun. So quick recap of yesterday, and by quick I mean very, very quick. Essentially, again, we learned, not last chapter, but the chapter before that June is a god. She is the storm and trickster god, that Rose had been conspiring about. And she ended up revealing herself to not just Karkat, but the whole group. And kind of confessed what happened, talked about it. Solux is still pissed at her, and we kind of got a little bit more information as to why and how he's more so pissed because her actions kind of revealed what, like a weakness in him, and stuff referencing back his trauma and past when it comes to how his relationship, or his connection was with the devil. We don't really know specifics, but we just know that it has something to do with it, and that's part of the reason he's so angry. And yeah, that's kind of it. We kind of concluded on the end of that conversation where June, is like, I'm still your guys' friend. Solux had already stormed off, because they kind of got into a bit of an emotional shouting match. But June is able to kind of make peace or make good with everybody else, and it's nice. It's nice. It kind of sucks about Solux, but Karkat is gonna do his best to make sure that Solux is okay. So that's kind of where we ended, and we are going to hop into chapter 33. Dr. Sunshine is ooh, I almost forgot to turn the music back on. Make sure that's on. Set it to the usual levels that I have it at. Okay, and yeah, so we're gonna get started now. Excuse me. All right. Okay. You have the sense of familiarity that you've been here and done this before now. Having walked along the dirt floor of the carnival ground, you look down as if pulled on strings, and once again you see the soft gray doll. You bend, picking it up, and run your thumbs along the torn seam at its side. Looking over to the side, the two men in the stall before you are too busy with the plastic face doll on the table to notice you, and so you move on, the gray doll held to your chest. There's a sense that you need to fix it, or at least return it to its owner. But you have no idea how to do either of those things. Without any guidance, you wander. There are other stalls and other people walking by, but somehow they don't seem fully real to you. The stalls give way to rides, and your eyes land on one in particular. You shift the gray doll around in your arms a little as you draw closer. The ride is one of those that slowly pulls you up to the top and then drops you back down in free fall. They usually have stupid names like the Detonator or something like that. Coming to the fenced edges around it, you look in. There are a good number of riders on the ride, and more are joining, but with one exception, they're all as vague and unreal as everyone else in this place. The one exception is Karkat. You watch as he sits in the chair of the ride. His portion of the seating is empty, but there are chattering non-passengers on the other sides. He looks up at the safety bar above his head, and with curiosity he reaches up to touch it. You gasp, clutching the limp doll in your arms tighter as the safety bar snaps and twists off into jagged metal with half of it clanging to the floor. Karkat looks around in a panic, clearly worried about having broken the ride. He's so consumed with worry that he doesn't notice the ride is about to start, and for some reason your voice is stuck in your throat. Or maybe you do call out, and he can't hear you. There's a man operating the ride, white-haired, with an orange baseball cap around his head, and pointed sunglasses obscuring his eyes despite it being dark out. With a bored disinterest, he jerks the lever, and the safety bars come down on the riders. Karkat gets a split second of realization before the jagged metal of the broken safety bar slams into his chest. Blood runs down his shirt and he gasps in obvious pain. You go to help him, to do something, but before you can do more than touch the fence, the ride jerks him up into the sky away from you. You wake up in a cold sweat and stumble out of your bed before you're completely conscious. It was a dream. Of course it was, but it was no mere dream, you're sure of that. The clock beside your bed says that it's 3 a.m. After everything that you discovered about June, you all agreed to let people process and calm down before asking more questions. It seems sensible to you, a chance to think clearly, and for certain other parties to be less defensive. The point is that Karkat went to sleep in his own room, not least because Dave got a note through his door from several of his neighbors asking if he could perhaps keep it down. You suspect that Solix and Dave will be visiting Karkat in his own silenced room from now on. Hurrying out of your room, you go and knock on Karkat's door. It's childish, but you need to reassure yourself that he's fine and not, skewered on a carnival ride? Still, you knock the door, but it swings inward. It hadn't been properly on the latch. Your blood ices up, and you warily lean into the room, hoping that you'll find Karkat asleep, and he just forgot to shut the door properly. But no, his bed is empty, the covers thrown back as if he'd exasperatedly kicked them off. Stepping inside, you touch the bedsheets to find them cold. Karkat hasn't just got up for a drink or something. Checking your phone shows that everyone is offline. Karkat is missing. Again. Fucking would it kill you to leave a note? You hiss under your breath as you march back to your room. You change quickly, getting into jeans and simply throwing a Salem U hoodie over your pajama shirt. Reaching into your bag of holding, you pull out Karkat's enchanted feather and hold it on your palm. It doesn't point upwards towards Dave's room. In fact, it points away from the campus entirely. Great. Grabbing your coat, you leave and set about following the feather as best you can. A somewhat confusing walk, and about 20 minutes later, you find yourself outside a large Catholic church. Its Gothic architecture, stained glass windows, and large iron-wrought doors are as impressive as they are intimidating. From outside the place, it looks both dark and shut. Besides, this isn't somewhere you'd expect to find Karkat. Somewhat confused, you walk past the church in one direction, and then the other, but the feather stubbornly points instead, and is responding far more readily than you'd expect if he was in the building behind it. You pocket the feather and think. Perhaps Karkat has decided to go to church in the middle of the night for no obvious reason. He's hardly devout or approving of his own side, so it would be an odd move to be so compelled at such a time. The other possibility is that somehow some church discovered what Karkat was and abducted him. But despite Karkat's habit of being kidnapped, you doubt regular humans could do that. Mind-controlled cops could because people comply with cops. If Karkat had run from them, then other cops would have tried to take him down as well. As far as you know, the same doesn't go for Catholic priests. Also, you have a feeling that people of the church trying to kidnap Karkat would get far more than what they bargained for, so unlikely. You let the feather go, and it drifts up against the wooden door, nudging against the iron stud as it tries to get through. You draw a needle out just in case there is trouble, and as quietly as you can, you try to open the door. It's locked, but that's not much of a problem for you. This isn't a complex lock, and you figure that the church probably relies on people not wanting to break into churches rather than installing impressive locks. Sucks to be them, you silently unlock the door and slip inside. As you thought, the church is dark inside, the only light filtering in from the tall stained glass windows. There's no candles lit, and the darkness makes the statues seem far more ominous than they would be in the day. Dim starlight and ambient light from the street outside highlights Jesus on the cross at the far end of the church, but it also lights Karkat up a little. He's not sat at the very front, but a few rows back and a little way in. From the back, you can recognize him easily enough, and he's not praying or anything, just leant forward on his folded arms that rest on the back of the pew in front. It strikes you that this is probably something personal, private, and emotionally charged for him. You probably should leave now that you know he's okay, but you can't. The set of his shoulders seems hopeless and sad. How can you leave him like that? You walk up the path between the pews, trying not to be silent anymore. Needless to say, Karkat seems to hear you, but he doesn't realize it's you until you sit next to him. "Rose," he says, his voice croaky. It's possible that he'd been crying before, but he doesn't look like he had been doing so very recently. You wonder how long he's been sat here. "I went looking for you. You weren't in bed," you tell him. "Sorry," he apologizes, and you shrug. This is clearly important. Karkat gestures helplessly and falls silent. You wait patiently, and after a minute or two, he seems to find the words again. "Learning about June kind of fucked me up a bit. I saw her with him when he was just an angel, before he fell and became... Karkat trails off. You wonder if he's hesitant to call the devil what he is in this place. It's not that I agree with him. I've had him in my head and he sucks. Plus, I've seen what he's done to Solux, and I know that's just scratching the surface of that so sincerely and I know that's just scratching the surface of that, so sincerely fuck that guy. But she, God, made him just for that one job. He was just a tool who was made for a job and was going to be discarded. I was made just so supposedly I could make Kankri better, although I have opinions on how dumb of an idea that was for literally everyone involved. Karkat sneers a little at that part. I am glad you were made, you offer up to him, a saturine sentiment for sure, but no less true. Thanks. He smiles. He sighs and leans back in the pew, his head tipping back to look at the painted ceiling of the church. I was made for a purpose, and never even allowed to do it. When I snuck out to help humanity and Earth in general, I was going against my orders. I hated that place. I had one semi-dubious friend in Eridan, and the only other person there I liked gets wildly mischaracterized and fucking whitewashed. Karkat waves a hand at the cross at the front. Hardly what a man born in that part of the world would have looked like, for sure. I wanted to come here to feel something, anything. This is what I'm supposed to be serving, and all I feel is that this is a nice building architecturally, and that's about it. I'm not saying I want to level the place or anything. I'm sure other people feel wonderful things here, and it brings them peace and makes them better people. But I'm what I am, and this place does nothing for me. Karkat rants. When he stops talking, he slumps a little. You're having a sort of crisis of faith, you conclude. Faith doesn't come into it. I came from there. I don't believe shit. I know. You don't lack belief in New York. You don't have a crisis faith about the place you came from, Karkat argues. Not the geographical place, no, but I have certain ideas in mind about what New York is, what it means to come from there, what those people are like. Terrible leadership, corrupt officials, all of that could erase my faith in the place as a concept. I'd know the state and the city still existed, but you can still lose faith in the rest, you explain. Karkat considers this for a moment, and you leave him the room to think. His hand is on the cool varnished wood pew between you, and you gently lay your hand over it. Despite the hour, you're in no rush, and you're here for him, willing to give him the space to come to terms with a concept like this. Besides which, you've confirmed that he's alive, and that your dream wasn't predicting anything immediate. You still need to analyze what you saw, but now isn't the time. I think I'm homesick? Or something like it, Karkat concludes. How so? You ask. I know what this should be for me here, he says, and waves at the church with his free hand. This is supposed to be a symbol of my home. I was supposed to be something great, made to do good for a god I believe in. But I wasn't made for a good reason, by a good person, or in service of a god I'm willing to support. I don't understand her goals, and her actions seem cruel and inhumane. I miss something that I've never had. It's an interesting concept. You've felt it yourself in a smaller way. You do love your mother, but her magical injury is very dominating in her life. You have moments where you wonder how things would have been in a life where she wasn't injured, where she could continue with her incredible work, and where you could have just been a kid instead of a joint caretaker with Dave. As Karkat said, homesick for something you've never had. Your life was considerably less cruel than Karkat's, so you won't compare the two, but it's alike enough for you to grasp the idea. Even so, you still did good things, and I think you're pretty great. I believe in you, you tell him. Karkat looks like he might cry, and instead just sniffs and squeezes your hand. You give him a moment, allow him to pretend like he's not about to burst into emotional tears. When he seems to have recovered himself, he starts speaking again. June was obviously involved in the event a bit. She mentioned that the reason I lost my memory was so I could live without remembering all of that, though I'm pretty sure she didn't mean for it to turn out exactly how it did. The intention was there. She wanted me to have a shot at just being able to exist. I sort of suspect that's how I got into Salem, too. I never applied, and it seems suspicious, but maybe I'm just reaching on that part. Karkat shrugs. You might not be giving yourself enough credit there, you point out. I've been trying to think what would I have done if I had gotten a chance to put requests into the event. I want to help people and make the world better, but that's a really complex thing to do, and I don't know. June at least was trying to help out people she knew personally. That probably made it easier to guess what would have been the right thing to change for them. You couldn't do that for everyone, though. It's not like you could say, I want everyone to have $1 billion and think you'll solve world hunger. Like, no, you just crash the economy, fucknuts. What would you do? Karkat asks at the end of the rant. It's an interesting hypothetical. Given the chance to add clauses to a magical spell that powerful, what would you do with it? Knowing what you know about magic and how people work, how would you maximize the chance to do good? After a little thought, you give Karkat your answer. I would change myself, give myself the ability to see who on Earth can do large amounts of good and what they would need to get there. So say you had someone who could cure cancer, but they just need to get the approval of some board or what have you. And then all you have to do is put pressure on the right people, and the situation fixes itself. If there was legislation that would go through that would better the lives of millions, but someone is blocking it for selfish reasons, then you fix that. You explain. By fix that, do you mean talk to and show the errors of their ways, or judiciously employ blackmail? Karkat adds dubiously. I'm flexible in my methods, you say with a shrug, and Karkat snorts in amusement. You know what? Actually, fuck it, I like your plan. At least you're trying to do good, and asking for knowledge to be sure you're doing it right is a smart idea. Sign me up, Karkat laughs. I'm glad you agree. When I start my plans for world domination as a benevolent dictator of the whole world, I shall employ you as my right-hand man, you joke. I live to serve, Karkat snorts. The conversation is stupid, of course, but Karkat's smiling again. There's an amused little crinkle at the edges of his eyes, even as the actual smile itself fades. That's a far better outcome than him just sitting alone in this church. Sorry for worrying you by just disappearing. I thought I'd be back before you woke up. Karkat apologizes. I didn't think you'd catch me isn't much of an apology, but I accept nonetheless. Shall we go back? You suggest, and get to your feet. Shit, yeah, let's go, Karkat says and follows you. How did you get in here anyway? You ask him as you reach the front door of the church. The door is just unlocked for me. I guess it's a church I have, I don't know, administrator access? Something like that. Karkat shrugs. Interesting. You'd like to test that in the future, but for now, you'd rather go back to your dorm and sleep some more. The walk back is peaceful, and you're both tired. Neither of you talk much on the way, and it's only when Karkat sighs as you step inside your dorm that you realize how long you went in silence. It's good to be back home. Fuck me, it's cold out there. Why'd I go out? I'm going back to bed where it's warm, Karkat says and kicks his shoes off. Good night, you call out to him. He sleepily mumbles goodnight back and shuts his bedroom door after him. You return to your own bed after changing back into your pajamas fully. You really do hope that Karkat feels at home here. It's not the same as belonging where he should have, but he deserves a home now at the very least. Even if he should have always had that. Drifting away into a short few hours of sleep before you have to get up again for class, you dream of stained glass and a lost look on Karkat's face. It seems crazy to think that you found out your friend is a literal deity, your roommate is an angel, and you've got letters from your past self, and yet you still have to go to class. It's a strange kind of mundanity juxtaposed with all this otherworldly information. Right now, you're sat between Jade and Karkat as your teacher goes on about the newest magical language method you're to tackle. On Jade's right, you have June, and on Karkat's left are Dave and Solux. You say Dave and Solux because Solux has clearly sustained enough emotional damage that he's decided to be a snake for the time being. He's wrapped around your brother's neck and shoulders like a particularly heavy scarf, only moving away to rest his head on Karkat's shoulders every now and then. Your teacher is going on about Crystal, which is both a language and a method for delivering spells. This one is for spells that affect objects specifically, object-oriented spellcasting. It seems simple enough. The spell is etched inside of a crystal with one of the machines they have in the department, and the spell then affects an object that it's applied to. A charm of sorts. Typically, these kind of spells are mass-produced. Small versions of them are included in everything from puncture repair kits for bicycles to emergency flares. They're meant to be powerful little spells that serve a purpose without requiring magical understanding on behalf of the user, your teacher explains. You can't help but note that this would be a very useful language if you wanted to be a witch working for a company to make mass-produced magical products. Not that you look down on that sort of thing, but it's not what you want to do. Then again, there is never harm in learning the basics of anything. Knowledge is power, after all. Despite your decision to pay attention to your crystal class, you find your mind wandering to June. You'd been so sure that she was involved in something after she slipped up about Karkat's species. You'd also been so dedicated to unraveling the mystery of the storm god, and then Karkat went and solved the whole thing for you. It very much took the wind out of your sails, like finding out that while you've been away, someone else has finished your jigsaw puzzle for you. It's not exactly satisfying. Instead of the pointed question and accusations, you're simply left with the facts and little idea about what to do with them. It's clear that despite everything, June is still June. She's still your friend. You just don't know how to process the information of her species just yet. Indeed, Karkat's questioning last night gave you all the more to think about. You hardly approve that June was responsible in some part for the event, but Karkat's questions made you wonder what you would do in such a position. Your answer was good as a hypothetical, but it's clearly more complex than that. What a mess. On top of all that mess with June, you can't help but feel bad for Solix as well. His fight with June clearly opened up a lot of old wounds for him, and even though he's closer to Dave than he is to you, he's very much your friend too. Family, really, if you're being honest. Your gaze drifts over to his snake form, coiled around Dave's shoulders, with his serpentine head resting morosely on a loop of his body. "Excuse me," you whisper to Karkat and lean over. Karkat leans closer to his desk to allow you, and it gives you some room to reach Solux. You run your fingers over his scaled head, from the tip of his snaky snoot to the place where his head becomes the rest of his body. He looks up and flicks his tongue at you in a way that you're choosing to interpret as curious. You give Solux what you hope is a comforting smile. He's obviously not having a great time if he's stuck being a snake, or is choosing to be that way. But it doesn't mean he's alone. You smooth your index finger up his head once more and lean back into your own seat again, watching as Dave nuzzles his face into the coils of Solux's body. Karkat looks around at Solux. You suppose he's curious about what you were doing. You watch as the two make eye contact, and Solux rears up a little, even though he doesn't look anything like a cobra right now. He flicks his tongue at Karkat, who pokes his own tongue out in response, and returns to taking notes. Yeah, Solux isn't alone. After class, June slips back into her dorm room. You guess she's feeling perhaps a little uncomfortable or vulnerable, but you're not going to let her stay that way. You head back to your building with Jade at your side. "How has she been?" you ask Jade. I don't know. She's clearly trying to act like everything is fine, but I think everything with Karkat and Solix has really thrown her. She definitely feels guilty about the Karkat thing," Jade tells you. "She did nearly kill him. However much he agreed and however noble her intentions were, I can see the guilt being a sensible reaction there," you nod. It's not as if Karkat's upset about June nearly killing him, but Karkat's threshold for holding a grudge is far too high. Or usually it is. June can nearly kill him, and you bet Karkat will never bring it up again, but you're still hearing about the time she licked his cutlery without him knowing about it and then laughed at him. Perhaps you ought to qualify your statement. For petty shit, Karkat will seemingly take a grudge to the grave, but nearly kill him, and he's fine. How did he ever survive this long? I don't even know what to think about all of this. The two of us are apparently related by adoption, although, duh, it would be by adoption. My grandpa was human, and I'm not. Neither is June, but still, I still haven't told my family about that yet. I feel like I kind of need to speak to her dad about this. I wonder if that's why he was so nice when I was staying there. Jade wonders. I wouldn't think so. Mr. Egbert is just aggressively nice and doting in general. I don't think you could have worked it out just from being pleasant to you. I guess. Still, it's a lot to think about. Jade sighs and swipes into the building. The two of you climb the stairs in a thoughtful silence, and when Jade lets you into her room, you see June sat on the floor petting Beck. The air is full of white hellhound fur, which you're sure immediately sticks to your black clothes the very instant you walk through the door. June looks up in surprise as you walk in. I have something of yours, you tell her by way of explanation, and sit down in an armchair. You put a hand in your bag of holding and pull out the golden fiddle that was in Karkat's belt of holding. I do apologize for the coordinates of the Burj Khalifa carved into the back, but I supposed it was needed, you say and hand it over. Wait, is that the golden fiddle from the whole Devil Went Down to Georgia thing? Was that you? Jade exclaims, jumping the back of the sofa in her enthusiasm to see the fabled instrument. It was. She's a trickster deity, remember? They can shapeshift. Think all the myths about Loki, you explain. June's gaze is heavy on you. You suppose she's trying to work out if that's what you really think the explanation is, or if you're smoothing the story over as to not invite questions. I can shapeshift into all sorts of things, June says a second later, a bright smile back in place. So you used to trick the devil into musical contests? Jade laughs. I used to trick Dirk into all sorts of things. I wanted to bring him down a peg or two. Maybe try to get him to talk to me so I could fix him or something, but it mostly was just me showing up, conning him and bailing. I did like making him admit I'd beat him, though. I thought I left this one in one of my temples, June says, and shoots you a suspicious look. It was in that belt of holding, you answer with a shrug. That other version of you was seemingly very busy. June waves a hand and a bow appears. Tucking the fiddle under her chin, she draws the bow across the strings, and the note it produces is more felt in your bone marrow than blood than it's perceived by your ears. It's not really my instrument anymore. I'm more of a piano person. This was sort of a sometimes thing. Violin was your instrument when you were younger, right? June asks and offers it to you. You haven't played violin since you were much younger. You will admit that you took it up as a young girl because nothing sounds so terrible as someone new to playing the violin, and you were a passive-aggressive and spiteful child at times. It's good that you've grown out of that. Oh, I'll get my bass, Jade says gleefully, and bounds off the back of the sofa and hurries to her room. You examine the fiddle in the muted glow of the midday light through the dorm window. The sun warms your back and glows off the impractically made instrument. Curiously, you raise the fiddle to your chin, and get the feeling that fiddle players usually hold it differently to violin players, but you'll go with what you know. As you hold the instrument... Oh my goodness, excuse me. As you hold the instrument and the bow, you mean to run through some brief scales first, just to refresh your memory, but that isn't what happens. You drag out a note, long at first, but more and more tumble forth without even doing you the courtesy of going through your mind first. Jade returns and interrupts your flow of impromptu noise. She settles onto the back of the sofa and starts a bass line that is deep and powerful, like a stalking thing in the woods, a rumble in tectonic plates. The urge to play again takes you, and you join in with her, neither of you agreeing on anything in particular to play, but simply playing nonetheless. June raises her hand, and a moment later a reedy hollow note thrums through the air, putting you in the mind of panpipes. The air before her hand seems to shift and tint with colors that shouldn't be, and all this is backed by the sudden pattering of rain on the window behind you. As you play more, the sun gets stronger, refracting through the rain on the window and throwing shifting shards of fractured rainbows across the walls and through the magically disturbed air that June is playing. You can't say exactly how long you play for, and none of you give any specific signal to stop, but you all finish at the same anyway. Words fail you for a moment afterwards, and you look down at your fingers, indented and raw feeling from the strings. You know you had questions, but they don't seem so important right now. June tells you to keep the fiddle, so back into your bag it goes. After that very unusual jam session, you're at somewhat of a loose end, so you decide to head to the library. You could see what Karkat is doing, and perhaps talk to Kanaya. Not that you'd go there, just for that, of course, but if she happened to be there, and you happened to run into her, then obviously you would be polite to talk to her. More than just polite. Her actions to save Karkat certainly warrant more than casual conversation. That's only proper, of course. You make your way over to the library, bearing your family name, and step through the doors. The place smells of paper, printer toner, and something that you've put down as a lot of magic in one place. Your mother's library is much the same. Your appreciation of quiet and peaceful nature is broken when Karkat sprints past you with a breathless, "Hi Rose, can't stop." You stare after him as he runs off full pelt down the shelves with, inexplicably, a large net on a pole in hand. Why is Karkat running around with a net? You ask the moment you step into the office. Rose, hello, it's so good to see you. Karkat feels responsible for the teleportation book that escaped when he was possessed, and he's been attempting to recapture it. Kanaya explains as she glances up from an old filing card system that's sorted off on one wall. Is it possible to capture a teleporting book with a net? You ask slowly. It doesn't seem like it would. Oh, not in the slightest. I did warn him, or I started to, and he went off onto some self-deprecating rant about fixing his mistakes and taking responsibility, so I thought it best let him get it out of his system. Kanai explains. You look through the glass-walled office as Karkat vaults a table and slams his net over the book, which, after a bright flash of light, is no longer there. It is very entertaining watching him try to refrain from loudly cursing, you admit. Highlight of my day, Kanai agrees. Beyond the glass, Karkat lowers his net and squints around the building before seemingly not locking onto something distant and starting his pursuit again. Is there anything I can help you with at all? Kanaya prompts you. Oh, yes, sorry, I was rather thrown by that, you say slowly as Karkat stalks past the office, net in hand. Understandable, Kanaya agrees. Your eyes fall on Karkat's desk, on the green ink blotter on it, and the scant few papers resting on its otherwise tidy surface. On impulse, you tidy them off to the side and look at the clear desk with satisfaction. I suppose I just wanted to say thank you again for everything you did with Karkat, and to assure you that I have no intentions of telling anyone anything about you or your family, you say. That is reassuring, but you don't need to thank me. Karkat's my friend, and anything I can do to help him, I would do gladly, Kanaya says, despite leaving Karkat to his futile book-catching attempts. Though that's not really a problem. You can't save Karkat from his own dumb ideas. Boys are just like that, really. I'm glad you got to reconnect with Matuna as well, you say, and at this, Kanaya beams, clearly thrilled. I couldn't be happier about that. I've missed him so much. We feared the worst when he didn't come and find us after the event, when it became apparent that demons were just on Earth now. He's with my mother right now. No doubt she is also demanding why her son-in-law thought a good idea to vanish on us. Rather him facing that wrath than me, let me tell you, Kanaya says and shudders a little. I entirely understand the fear of maternal wrath, you tell her sympathetically, and sit down in Karkat's chair. Speaking of your mother, have you asked her about the blanket? I honestly can't find anything about it in my records. If I make a custom piece, I usually map out the pattern on paper first, especially when it involves magic as strong as that, but I can't find any, Kanaya asks. I can't really get a sense out of her about it. She just gets upset, and pushing her when she's like that, you trail off. You'd rather not explain. I wish I understood what was going on, Kanaya sighs, and closes the drawer for the card system. As do I. It's my weekend to go home and see my mother, so perhaps I can get more information out of her then. You trail off, as a feeling tingles at your brain. Hold on, I need to scroll up to read the theorizing that's going on in chat a little bit. Give me a second. Okay, I'm returning to chat. Or, not returning to chat, I'm returning to the thing I have read. Where was I? You look down at Karkat's desk, and then a book appears out of thin air. You pin it to the desk with one hand, and then pick it up. How did you do that? Kanaya asks in shocked surprise. I have no idea, you admit. Behind you, the door bangs open as Karkat bursts inside, and you can only smile at him as he boggles vacantly at your prize. How the fuck? Karkat demands. Door, Karkat, Kanaya reminds him. Karkat glances at the silenced door, kicks it, then glares in your direction. At first you think he's glaring at you, but no, he's directing his ire entirely at the book. He takes it from your hands and holds it up at eye level to glare at it. Bad book. Bad. No treats. I will not rub your spine. You are going back to your shelf right now. Karkat scolds it and pokes its front cover with his finger. Without explanation or goodbye, Karkat marches off with the book in hand. Your attention is drawn back to Kanaya by her soft giggle. He's very sweet with the books. The more sentient ones are all very fond of him. I think surviving what he did earned him a lot more respect in their eyes. They already liked him because he spoils them and talks to them, but they definitely respect him now too. Kanaya smiles. You look at her and you're struck again by just how pretty she is, but you can also feel yourself floundering. You made such a poor first impression that you'd really like her to think highly of you to compensate for it. Before, when she'd rescued you from England, despite no one else acknowledging your existence, you two were so consumed with finding out what happened and getting back that there wasn't much room for idle chatter or your nerves about it. Talking about Karkat's eccentricities might be, eccentricities is nice enough, but you really just want to talk to her, you and her, one-on-one, about each other and not some divisionary topic. I am really glad about his species. Time can go so quickly, and it's always sad to make a friend and watch them grow old when you don't, Kanaya says quietly. I don't actually know if Karkat will keep aging or not. I think he only aged to this because this is more normal for him, and the event made him seem younger, so he assumed he was human. You say, thinking aloud, is there going to be a time when you look older than Karkat? I know what suddenly being a different species is like, but I can't imagine not knowing what you are. At least he knows now, Kanaya says sagely. You watch as she kneels down to compare the card that she has in hand with an old printout in a box. You're not sure what she's doing, but it seems book-related. You look at her glossy black hair, your eyes running over where it just delicately curls around her face, her perfect makeup and clothes. You need to ask this girl out on a date. Obviously, you can't do it now. You need to think and plan these things. Scrounging for a slip of paper on Karkat's desk, you leave him a note saying you're taking him to dinner. If you're going to ask Kanaya out, you'll need to pick his brains for any information you can find. Have you considered, Karkat says that evening as he picks up his drink, just asking her out? I can't do that, you protest. Karkat sighs and pokes at his sashimi for a moment. Look, as far as I can tell, she likes you too. Even if you're nervous around her, you have some kind of chemistry, and going on a date is a way to see where that goes, right? Rose, you're pretty, and you're funny, and you're smart. Anyone would be lucky to be asked by you on a date. I'm sure it'll be fine if you ask, Karkat assures you. And if she says no, you challenge him, then it's Ben & Jerry's and whatever kind of movie you prefer until you feel better. Or you could go out and smash some things if you like. Buy some secondhand crockery and I could drop it from high up so you can do that thing with your needles to break it. Karkat shrugs. I suppose. I guess I was just hoping you might give me more of a plan. I don't like going into situations at an informational disadvantage. You sigh. If you could get all the information, you'd know what the right choice is. I don't know the cheat code to my friend's heart. Also, I've never asked a girl out, and you've seen the caliber of idiots I date. Karkat points out, Hey, that's my family you're talking about, you half-heartedly protest. You don't mean it. You love Solux and Dave dearly, but they are dumb boys. It's not my fault you stole Dave's smarts in the womb. Karkat snorts, making you grin. It's Valentine's Day soon. Well, a few weeks. Perhaps I could do something for then. Book somewhere and ask her out for Valentine's Day, you muse. That's a really good idea, Karkat nods. You watch as his face shifts from approval to a deer-in-the-headlights look. Did you just realize that you have 2 boyfriends and 1 Valentine's Day? You ask wryly. Shit. Yes. Oh, fuck. Rose, you need help me, Karkat pleads. I don't have the cheat codes to their hearts, you reply and sip your drink. That's cold, Alond. Ice cold. Karkat grumbles. I try, you say sweetly. Considering how to ask Kanaya out for a date is hard work. It doesn't get any easier and convince you to pester Karkat for help when he comes back to your dorm the next day to find Solux in his normal form with Karkat in the kitchen. I mean, we could... how do I say this word? Aerosolize it? I mean, if we could aerosolize it somehow, Karkat muses. With a t-shirt cannon or something? Solux suggests. You eye the bag of flour in Karkat's hand. Sometimes you make mug cakes with flour, but that looks like a fresh bag. Solux is also holding what appears to be a grocery bag in one hand. Solux, good to see you bipedal again. What are you two doing? You ask. We're going on a date, Karkat says brightly. Elaborate, you suggest. We're going to an active volcano, and we're going to throw stuff in it, or put stuff in a way of slow lava flow and see what happens, Karkat explains, clearly very eager. When you're fireproof, it's basically a crime not to fuck around with lava, Solux says sagely. Oh, shit, I have some empty aerosols back in my room. I'll go grab them, Karkat exclaims and hurries off, leaving you and Solux alone. Solux shifts a little under your gaze, especially when you smile at him. You're excited about this, aren't you? You ask. That's none of your... I don't see you asking your crush out, and I'm dating Karkat. I can go on dates with him if I want, Solix mutters. You seem far more nervous and embarrassed about this than you did with sleeping with him. You point out. Yeah, well, I've done that before. That's not new, Solix says under his breath. Does that mean you've never had a Valentine's Day with him before either? You ask teasingly. Demons don't do Valentine's Day, Solix says a little loudly, right as Karkat comes out of his room. You don't? Karkat asks, honestly, looking a touch disappointed for a moment. Yeah, it's a stupid human thing or whatever, Solix snorts. Very, I don't care, and you don't buy that at all. Oh, well, fuck that. I'm getting you something. Unless me getting you something would personally offend you, Karkat says. It wouldn't offend me, it's just a dumb holiday. Can we go? Solix asks, very blatantly changing the subject. Karkat rolls his eyes, tosses empty aerosol bags in Solix's bag, and then takes his hand, with a puff of smoke, and they're gone. You're happy for them. You are. It's nice to see Karkat happy, and it's also nice to see Solix invested in people outside your family. He's been close to June before, obviously, but you don't know if him being humanoid again means that they've talked or not. As much as you want to know, you fear that prying with June might set the whole situation back, and no one wants that. You have other people you can bother instead. Dearest, sweetest, babiest brother, hello. Look at me not dignifying that with a response. You just did, but regardless, I wanted to talk to you. Oh no. Can't I just reach out to you for a friendly sibling chat? Why the dread? Because I know you. It means you're up to something. I would never. I just saw Solix and Karkat go off on their date. They're so adorable, it needs to be illegal. Solix changed his clothes legit like 20 times before going to meet him. They were gathering things to throw into lava and put in lava when I saw them. That was my idea. Aw, I hope they get pics. I want to see that. It would be interesting, you're right. On a related note, what are you doing for Valentine's Day with Karkat? Not much. We didn't want to go out somewhere and be overcharged for basic food, so we're gonna have dinner in my dorm together and watch seasonally inappropriate movies. I might make him watch The Room. I thought you liked him. The shittiness is the point. I'm also giving him a gift, but I will only tell you if you swear to secrecy. Wild dogs couldn't drag it out of me, I swear. I'm making him a bookshelf. Okay, I bought a bookshelf, but I'm decorating it for him with, like, SBA HJ printouts and Mod Podge. That is certainly a unique gift. For sure is. Have you asked Kanaya out yet? For unrelated reasons, I must leave. As you promised, Kanaya, you do indeed head to your New York home to see your mother that weekend. I'll be back Sunday evening, if not before, you tell Karkat as you check around that you have everything that you're meant to bring. Hey, if your mom has any books on written demon language that she wouldn't mind lending me that aren't in the library, could I ask you to borrow them for me? Karkat asks, looking up from his notebook. Why are you looking into that anyway? You ask as curiosity nips at you. Karkat hesitates, clearly a little embarrassed. I'm trying to learn how to write something out for him. It's secret, though. It's just that this book isn't very clear at all when it comes to explaining sentence structure, even if it's good at describing how the symbols themselves work phonetically. It's not really what I'm looking for. Karkat taps the closed book on the edge of the table with his pen. It's quite thick and very academic and dry. You will say one thing for your mother's work. Dry and stuffy are certainly not apt descriptors for it. You wonder just what he intends on writing. Obviously something for Solux, but you can't help but wonder what. Still, you will do him this favor. I'll ask her and see what we have. You agree? Thanks, Karkat says gratefully and returns to his crystal language homework. The very same work you'll be focusing on when you get to New York. The teleportation journey is fine as always. It's just the journey from the port to your home that's the real pain in the ass. You slog through the area of the woodland surrounding your home, and finally unlock and push the front door open with a sigh of relief. To your surprise, your mother is very near the door and seems startled to see you as you are to see her so close. Mom, you blurt out. You scared me, Rosie. I was just looking, your mom says and points at the wall of pictures before her. She seemingly been standing there looking at the pictures. Look at Dave's hair, your mom giggles, pointing to one picture in particular. Dave had gone through a self-conscious phase at 13 about his albinism and decided to try and fix it by dyeing his hair black to match yours. He had almost spent a week looking like a shitty emo band frontman, and then immediately upon washing it, the color started to leach out with alarming speed that made him look patchy and incredibly stupid. You remember finding him trying to bleach it out. Solux refused to help because he'd warned him that it wouldn't stick in the first place. You can all but see Dave leaning over the bathtub, watching the bleach out as an unimpressed Solux sat on the bathroom counter. The bleach job didn't work fantastically either. In your picture your mom is pointing at, there's still some traces of orange in his hair from trying to shift the black dye. That was definitely a learning experience, you nod, as was your attempts at eyeliner at that age. That picture is not flattering for either of you. The wall itself has a good number of pictures of your whole family together. As Dave is quite the photographer, there's a lot here that he took, so naturally a good number of you and Solux together. You can't help but grin at a picture you took of you and him at the top of a hill, having made a snowman on top of a sled. Out of a shot at the bottom of the hill is a murder obstacle course that Solux magicked up for you to push the unsuspecting snowman into. Want dinner? Your mom asks, inclining her head towards the kitchen. Oh, I ate before I came, you apologize. Your mom says with an exaggerated thoughtfulness, leaning in close to you. I did, you say, because what else can you say? Cocoa and cookies, then? She offers slyly. Well, since you twisted my arm, you sigh. Totes just because I'm making you, she agrees with a knowing nod. Of course, you smile and follow her. Your mom does seem to be doing well at the moment. Since you're sure she already knows, you carefully decide to bring up the subject of June over your cocoa. Did you know about June? You ask, more of a perfunctory question, an introduction, as you're 99% sure you know the answer to it. Do you? She says in response, her eyebrows climbing up. You notice something, and find yourself thrown from your conversational train of thought. What happened to your eyebrow? You ask in shock. Her right eyebrow has a gap through it, but there's no mark to suggest that she hurt herself or anything. I saw it online. Looked cool on other people, and it looks cool on me. Your mother grins and wiggles her eyebrows at you. You are deeply glad no one is around for miles to witness your maternal embarrassment. At least she doesn't go out and talk to people to embarrass you. Mothers. Anyway, I found out about June's species, you say carefully, and your mom's shoulders sag a little in what you think is relief. You can't trust gods, always lying, manipulating, trying to get their own way. You can't let them, she says vehemently. I don't really approve of her pretending to be human when she wasn't. We're friends. She could have told me sooner, but I can understand to a degree, and she's been honest since, you say lightly. It's not entirely true. You've tried talking to June about why the event happened, what her part in it was, and she's outright refused to tell you any of it. But she at least isn't denying any knowledge of it now, which is more honest, you suppose. Can't trust gods. I have work. Your mom mumbles and walks off, her cocoa only half drunk, and now forgotten. That was nice while it lasted, at least you suppose. You head up to your room and get settled into your classwork, until you finally find yourself taking more distraction breaks than doing actual work, at which point you call it a night. The next day with your mother is pleasant enough. You go through the fridge and throw out anything out of date, although Solux is pretty on top of that, so you only have one item that's gone and a yogurt that goes bad today, which you decide to just eat for breakfast instead of wasting. Before you had this system, you remember that your mother would lose track of what food was around. You ate a lot of instant oatmeal as a small child. The side effect of that is that you're quite put off of the stuff now. You don't recall if Dave has the same aversion to it as you do. He can eat and drink the same things day in and day out, seemingly without it bothering him, so perhaps not. Dave, what is your feeling and thoughts on oatmeal these days? None feelings left oatmeal. Dave, I don't know what you want from me. I don't have any thoughts about oatmeal. If I had nothing else to eat, I wouldn't slap it out of your hands, but I can't say I've ever been jazzed about eating oatmeal in my life. I didn't expect the Spanish oatquisition this morning. No one ever does. I was just throwing food out of the fridge and thought about how much instant oatmeal we must have gone through as kids. I can't stand the stuff now. Again, though, does anyone get a hard-on for oatmeal? Actually, Rule 32, I'm pretty sure some nasty perv on the internet is sticking their dick in oatmeal right now. You have managed to make oatmeal less appealing somehow. Well done, and also please stop. You're welcome. How's Mom? Fine. I told her about June, and she got a little funny. She warned me not to trust her. Mom always said that about her. This is true. How did Karkat and Solix's date go last night? Well, I've not seen either of them since, so I'm going to guess very, very well. I'll high-five them both for later, and wait for all the gossip from Solix about Karkat. I feel that you two being Moirails puts Karkat at a distinct disadvantage in this little polyamorous triangle you have here. Okay, but in fairness, Karkat has you, and I have no doubt that you'd spill mortifying and exploitable info on me and Solix at the drop of a hat. Baseless accusations. Also, I'm not dating Karkat, whereas you and Solux are, so it's hardly comparable. But if anything, that means that I should tell him more about you. Speaking of, Mother was looking at that great picture of you after you bleached your hair out. Rose, no one needs to know about that. Oh, really? Oh, God. There are no more gods, Dave. Only me. And June. June would also have no mercy, but if you like, I can check with her. Oh, wait, no. June, dearest, remember when Dave dyed his hair? Ha! Very fondly. What a dweeb. And it had all those ginger patches where the black didn't come out. Do you think I should tell Karkat about this? You should tell him about it, like, yesterday. I can't do it yesterday, but I can do it today. Excellent. You go and take a picture of that most unflattering photo, taking care to crop yourself out of it. Karkat is offline for reasons that you do well to not speculate on. You send the photograph to him, all the same, with a quick explanation, and wait for him to get his phone so he can react appropriately. The anticipation of that moment warms you through and through. You busy yourself with mundane house chores for half an hour before Karkat gets back to you. Holy shit, this is like Christmas has come early, very early, considering we just had it. It really was something to behold at the time. Solix did warn him that it wouldn't turn out well. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you over the sound of me making this Dave's contact picture and also my lock screen wallpaper. Excellent. Unfortunately for Dave, I didn't have any friends and family when I was that age, so no one will ever know of the dumb shit I did. Checkmate. Well, now I'm determined to find out. Oh no. Oh yes. Bitch. Nope, too late. You fucked it up. God damn it. Well, you're a bitch and a bitch, so there. This means war, Rose. I need to go to the library soon. It would be a shame if Kanaya saw photographs of your emo hot topic phase. A phase implies that I didn't just refine my goth style. You don't scare me. Ha! Oh, you really hope he bought that bluff. You definitely do not want him showing Kanaya any old pictures of you when you are trying to secure a date with her. Or when you are trying to secure a date with her. If you act like you're not bothered, then maybe Dave will give up and try to humiliate you to Karkat instead. You can but hope. On the vague hope of evading embarrassment, you head into the attic to try to better hide any embarrassing artifacts of your past in your bag of holding. You don't want Dave coming up here for proof or sending Solix over to get it either. The attic is filled with all the normal sorts of things that attics are filled with. Dust, spiders, boxes of things meant to go to Goodwill but ended up getting forgotten. Over there are a few boxes of precious memories, according to the writing on the box, and from the fabric peeking out, you can see that it contains at least one of your Halloween outfits from last year, from years past. There are seasonal decorations, boxes of spell ingredients bought in bulk that would just clutter up the lab if left there, and then a safe. You eye it as you squirrel away your old clothing and merchandise. You knew the safe was here, of course. When you were a child exploring the attic, you had wondered what was in it. Your mom explained that it was a fireproof safe and held important documents. The paper copies of her degrees, her birth certificate, deed to the house, the land, your birth certificate, and so on. All very mundane and immediately uninteresting. But now, well, if you were going to hide a magical blanket but wanted to keep it from falling into Dave's hands, then that would be a sensible place to store it. It also may have been where yours was stored before you put it in the box and buried it into winter. Curiously, you shimmy over there on your knees. This section of the roof is lower than the rest, and there are glass baubles dangling from the roof. You know they relate to part of your mother's very complex wards around the house, and you were always instructed never to touch it. You have no desire to mess with it now. As such, you duck under the glass baubles and sit cross-legged before the safe. You have to shuffle aside to avoid one in particular, which has trimmings from a white feather in it. A feather you suspect is Karkat's. Turning your attention to the safe, you already know that your usual tricks to unlock the thing won't work here. It's a magically protected safe, so the unlocking magic you can muster won't crack it open. Ever hopeful, you give the handle a little jiggle, but no luck. It doesn't open. The combination lock seems disapproving of your presence. You're inclined to spin the combination dial randomly, but you doubt that'll produce anything. You could ask your mother for the code, but you feel like she wouldn't give it to you somehow, even though you can't place why you have that feeling. Your eyes drift across the room, though it won't help. It's not as if your mother would put a safe in the attic and then write the combination on the wall above it. Your gaze settles on a small round window that's letting a beam of light into on the floor near you. Your memory tingles. You told yourself to stay in the light. Could you have been talking about this? Curiously, you lay down on the floor, letting your head and chest rest in the sunbeam like you did when you were trying to see Carcat with the sun catcher your mother made. You allow your mind to empty of thoughts and leave yourself open to whatever knowledge you might be provided from whatever source can help. The sun, through weak January sunlight, filters through the single plate glass window and warms your skin. You can see the reddish glow of the inside of your eyelids. Imagine that the rest of your body is glowing with the warmth from your planet's distant star. In your mind's eye, you see your mother come into the attic and turn your head to watch as she crouches at the safe and turns the dial. 413-666. Your eyes click open, and you sit up abruptly. That was no vision from Cthulhu. That was... You just saw that somehow all on your own. Humans can't do that. Before now, you've been able to put anything you've seen down to the distant influence of your patron god through the moon, but this was nothing of the sort. Nervously, you move to the safe dial and turn it in to enter the numbers. 413-666. You can't help but notice that 413 is a significant set of digits to you. You live on the 4th floor in room 13. It's also June's birthday. 666 is also a particularly unsubtle reference to the devil and hell, a connection you don't like one bit. As you enter the last digit, you hear the safe clunk, and with a twist of the handle, the door swings outwards. Greedily, your eyes take in everything inside. Before you touch anything, you scan the safe as a whole. There are several open shoeboxes with documents neatly lined up within them. Other boxes house envelopes of significant bulk. Out of impulse, you pluck the largest one up and see that there is a return address on it for a publishing company. A quick flick through the pages inside confirms that it's the manuscript for one of your mother's published works. Sensible to keep, but not much of interest to you. If you had a desire to read your mother's work today, you'd simply go downstairs and do yourself the favor of reading a properly bound and typesetted version. You turn to the smaller envelopes. Employment contract with Salem University, deed of the house, her birth certificate. Not very interesting. Abandoning that box, you choose a new one. Opening a cardboard-backed envelope, you find your birth certificate, and all the accompanying paper once accumulates upon birthing a child. Notably, you're listed as a home birth, despite being sure you were born in a hospital. But then again, if you were covered by the blanket, the staff wouldn't know of your existence to write anything down. Presumably, your mother came back later and said she had you and Dave and got your certificates then. Certainly a complicated way of going about things. Other envelopes are letters from doctors, one confirming her positive pregnancy test and instructing her to come for prenatal appointments at various intervals. Other letters are results of various blood tests, and curiously you find yourself examining your mother's first ultrasound scan, which appears to be when she was 7 weeks pregnant. It is probably more sentimental to her than it is useful. As you squint at the old scan, you're barely able to distinguish the thing on the picture as being human, let alone tell if it's you or Dave they managed to snap a picture of. You flip through a few more envelopes until you come to a later scan, this one marked at 14 weeks. That's more identifiably human, but you're not sure if it's you or Dave. Curiously, there's only one image in the envelope, so whichever one of you it is, they didn't get a picture of the other. That seems a little odd, but you suppose it's not as if they could ask nicely for the two of you to shuffle around so they could get a clear picture, is it? A few more letters assure your mother that all the prenatal tests results are perfectly normal, and you're getting the impression from the tone of the letter that your mother had been asking them a lot and was very concerned. You wonder if perhaps she was concerned about the magical feedback when she was pregnant, or if this was the start of her becoming incredibly paranoid and overprotective. Your heart sinks at that thought, and you open up another scan in the envelope. This time, there's 2 pictures inside, as well as a substantial letter. This time you can see both you and Dave. You're pretty sure the first image is Dave, based on the faint inked scrawl of a male baby on the bottom of the scan. Above Dave, you can see what looks to your eyes to be an arm and a foot that aren't attached to him. The second picture shows you far better, and then parts of Dave, and is noted as female baby. Interesting. You turn to the letter within the envelope and open it. Dear Dr. Lalonde, Please find enclosed the printed scans from your prior ultrasound at our facility. As I mentioned at your last appointment, I can only apologize for not catching both fetuses before now. This can sometimes happen on ultrasounds in early phases, though it is very rare. It is possible that your earlier ultrasounds showed one baby, and then another showed the other, and we simply did not spot them both here. Again, I can only apologize for this error on our part. I am, however, happy to inform you that between your ultrasound and your recent blood work, both fetuses appear to be healthy and meeting all developmental milestones at this stage. We will, of course, keep seeing you at your scheduled appointments, but if you want to talk to me at any point, please don't hesitate to do so. I have also redone all the appropriate tests on both your male and female child that we would expect to have done by this point, making sure that we know which is which results are which. As I mentioned, there is nothing to be concerned about here, but I am, as per your request, sending you the hard copy of all of our data. Again, my sincerest apologies. The doctor signs off with his name and an illegible scrawl of a signature. You look around the other envelopes and find the final ultrasound. You debate sending Dave a picture of it, as it is one of his first pictures, but maybe you should just give him the code and let him explore this for himself next time he's here. Looking around the safe, you can't help but pause. There's definitely things missing from this. For one, you can't find Dave's birth certificate anywhere, nor his social security number or anything. The theoretical blanket for him is also missing, if it was ever here, but aside from ultrasounds, there's no pictures of him in here. Not that there's many of you either, just a couple of you as newborns, all wrinkly-faced and pudgy with your teeny hands balled into fists, but nothing of Dave. While all babies look more or less alike, there's no way you're mistaking pictures of you for pictures of Dave. You look vastly different in terms of your coloring, even if your actual facial features have a lot of resemblance. So, where is he? You sit back on your heels and frown at the safe. Perhaps your mother took those things out for a reason. Certainly photographs of you as a baby would hold a lot of symbolic magical power due to the importance your mother would place on them, so it's not beyond thinking that your mother might have used them in some protection spell, and perhaps the few scanned photos of you are all that remain of the ones she didn't pick for you. That's sensible enough, but his legal documents are another matter. You could ask your mother, but she's likely to lie, or perhaps just not remember. You have another source. Solix, may I borrow you for a moment? I am suspicious but curious. Emotionally, or as a person in general? Yes. I'm an addict at home. Could you take a look at something with me? I need a second opinion. I see your blatant two-pun. I know you're trying to bait me. Guilty. That doesn't mean I still won't show up, Solix says as he appears behind you. Naturally. So, this safe, you begin and wave a hand at it. Solix sits down next to you and looks at it curiously. Isn't this usually locked? I've been up here to check the wards billions of times and I've never seen it open. Solix remarks in surprise. Yes, I somehow knew the combination. I saw it. I'm compartmentalizing that panic about it to later. You tell him. Sensible. It looks like boring documents, Solix says, plucking the paper copy of your mother's driver's license out. Mostly it is, yes. There's ultrasounds from when Mom was pregnant with me and Dave. They missed that there were two of us until later. Look, you say and hand him the envelope with both of your scans and the letter. Solix peers at the scans and grimaces, his nose wrinkling a little and his fangs peeking out slightly to show disgust. Mammals are so gross. It's so gross you two are all blech. Solix shudders and hands it back to you. You suppose that some would find Solix's origins of springing from a removed rib to be gross, but you can see how pregnancy can seem like something from a horror movie. You suppose you're fine with it because it's normal for your species, for all mammals, really. I can't find any pictures of Dave in here as a baby, or his birth certificate, social security, or anything. Mine are in here, as is all Mom's stuff. I was hoping to find the equivalent of my blanket but for Dave, you tell him. Dave got into school and he can teleport places. He has an official ID, Solix states and shrugs. Well, yes, but I also have that, and I've never seen my birth certificate, and all this until now. Mom dealt with all of that, I think, you explain. Solix shrugs and stays silent. Do you know what she did with it? Did she use photos or documents for some spell? Are they stored somewhere else? You prompt him. I don't keep track of every spell your mom casts. You could, I guess, or she could have more safes hidden about, backup documents or whatever, he says, and peers into one of the envelopes with the manuscripts in it. Have you seen any other safes? You ask. Sometimes asking him questions is like pulling teeth, you swear. No. Solix admits. Isn't that kind of odd? You press him. Everything is odd in this house, he answers, and teleports across the room to inspect the ward since he's here. It's weird that you don't find this weird, you accuse him. Solix turns and regards you in silence for a moment, looking at you with both sets of eyes, and slowly blinking one set, then the other. What are you getting at? You think I want to keep extra boring document safes to myself? Solix snorts. No, I didn't say that, You struggle to find an answer. Something is weird here, you can feel it, but despite that, you're hard-pressed to know what to pull him on. To pull him up on. There's no reason that he should know what your mother did with those documents and pictures, or a blanket. He might do because he's so magical around this place. He might do because he's so magical and around the place a lot, but he doesn't know then. But if he doesn't know, then there's nothing you can do. There's also no reason for him to hide that information from you, so this should be as simple as him saying he doesn't know, and that's the end of it. Something is weird, but you can't say what. I don't know, you finish lamely. Well then, Solix says and looks back at the wards. You stare at his back suspiciously, and remember your warning to yourself that other people have their own motives. You're usually so into information about Dave, I would have thought you'd been all over this, you say in a tone far later than you feel. Yeah, but those little weird fetus things that became you two are gross. Also, I don't care about his birth certificate. I'm aware that he was born. I don't need a commemorative slip of paper to tell me that, Solix says without looking back at you. What if someone broke in and stole his stuff, you suggest. Solix looks over his shoulders at you and raises an eyebrow. What if someone found your mom's house, despite the wards, broke in, despite the wards, didn't get caught by her when she literally never leaves, found the safe hidden in the attic, somehow got the combination, and stole boring paperwork and baby pictures of Dave? Specifically Dave? Solix says incredulously. He has a blog. I'm told he's very famous, you say weakly, and Solix doubles up in unexpected laughter, clearly having not seen that comment coming. Alright, you got me, that was hilarious. Solix snorts as he sits down on the floor and grins at you. This feels like something is all I'm saying. It's weird that there isn't, that this isn't here, you tell him seriously. Weird is fair, just don't worry about it, Solix tells you gently. You are going to obsess over this, so help you God. You're right, you say instead. Solix gives you a semi-sarcastic little salute and then teleports off to wherever he's decided to go. You're not sure what you're going to do just yet, but you take pictures of your birth certificate, your scans, and all the accompanying letters. Anything you might need later to take pictures of. With that all done, you close the safe and think out your plan. Or rather, you allow your plan to start to brew in the back of your mind, as all the best plans do. Physically, you occupy your time with making food from your mother and borrowing some demonic language books for Karkat. When you tell your mom that you think Karkat is using them to flirt with Solix, she's all in to help out. Seemingly, Solix keeps her up to date on his thoughts about Karkat when he visits her to check in, and you suspect that your mom is following the whole thing like a soap opera. Not that you can say the rest of you aren't also invested in Karkat's very dramatic romantic life. When you return to Salem, Karkat is absolutely delighted at the book, but when you tell him about Dave's missing documents, he doesn't have any ideas either. Maybe your mom cut them in half or something? She does that with things, right? This would have been when you were kids, so it's not like you would have repaired that stuff. Maybe she just threw it away because she damaged it. Oh, maybe that's why they were in the safe so far out of the way in the first place, Karkat suggests. That does seem reasonable, and very much like your mother. She is aware of things she does, and her tendencies tend to be unpredictable. Making it hard for herself to damage important things is entirely unbelievable. It just doesn't feel true. I'm going to find Dave's birth certificate, you declare. You're gonna look around your house for them again, or? Karkat asks. No, I'm going to get copies, you say, deciding it as you say it. There's probably forms for that. Records office make copies or whatever, Karkat reasons. I don't want to do that. What if someone's watching the place? You say. Karkat opens his mouth, says nothing, and shuts it again. He narrows his eyes at you. I'm going to ask you how you're planning on getting it then, and I really hope your answer is not some kind of felony, Karkat says slowly. It's not some kind of felony. It's stealing from a federal records building. That's a specific felony. Also, it's not illegal if I've touched that blanket, and it means I don't exist, you point out smugly. Karkat covers his face with his hands and makes a noise of utter despair. Or perhaps the noise of a dying giraffe. It sounds so similar, you assume. Why exactly are you bothered by this? He asks when he comes up for air. I had a vision and unlocked that safe for a reason, you insist. Okay, but consider this. Let's say your seer skills are getting stronger, but your ability to get messages from your patron specifically are getting weaker. What with the whole moon murder, prison for gods and all? Couldn't that mean you're able to glean information at a kind of request, even if it's not relevant? Maybe you just asked the universe the combination to the safe and it gave it to you. That doesn't have to mean that there's meaning behind that, Karkat reasons. But the combination of the safe was our floor and room number, which also happens to be June's birthday. You start. Wait, does June really have a birthday? She wasn't born. I guess maybe she picked one? Karkat mumbles to himself. You ignore him and go on. Not to mention it ended in 666. I don't think it's coincidence at all. It means something. I'm going to steal Dave's certificate back. You tell him firmly. Karkat sighs and shakes his head, but nonetheless gets his phone out and looks at his calendar, which has his work and class schedule neatly planned out. When are we going? He grumbles. We? You ask in surprise. Karkat gives you a flat look and then rolls his eyes at you. I'm not so stupid as to think I can talk you out of this, and I'm not letting my best friend commit federal crimes with the magic without me there as backup. When are we going? He says. Best friend? Oh. You'd think he realizes what he said, because he starts to become flustered, though you know he doesn't take it back. You don't particularly want him to, so you continue. Saturday, you suggest. Okay, but so we have an alibi. I'll fly us there rather than teleport, and that way we can claim we were just studying in our dorm the whole time, Karkat says with a nod, and blocks out time on his schedule as study with Rose. What is the thing that people say? A good friend helps you move, a best friend provides you with an alibi and helps you break into a federal building to commit felony crimes. Something like that, at least. I can't believe you made me leave my phone at home, you say to Karkat on the day of your planned crimes. Below you, a wide grassy plain stretches out, and you can see a few centaurs running down there. Our phones have GPS tracking in them. If we leave them back in Salem, it's a better alibi, Karkat explains with a huff. You lean forward across his back, careful not to obstruct his wings. Think of all the reading I could be doing, though, you sigh. You're welcome to walk, Karkat snaps at you. He doesn't mean it, and you only smile at getting a rise out of him. So tell me again about your precautions, you suggest. I have a note I'm going to put on my phone charm explaining that I'm waiting for someone I can't remember and to stay put. I've explained what it feels like and said that if I haven't heard anything by evening to call the library and tell Kanaya that you've not come back and have the blanket. I know I won't know what that means, but I've said to quote that explicitly, Karkat tells you. That should work, right? Putting my name in it won't make it so you can't read the message, will it? You wonder. I can edit the message, Karkat concedes. When you land and Karkat reappears behind a dumpster in New York City, you take a moment to help him edit the note. The Department of Health's records office is just here, and they hold backups for everyone's birth certificates and other legal documents. You've done your research. You know where you're going. It's pretty cold. Are you sure you'll be okay waiting out here that long? You ask him. I don't think the cold really affects me, or at least it can't kill me. Karkat shrugs. You suppose he did fly through space before. Even so, you reach into your bag and pull out 2 of your latest knitting projects, a dark gray and pale lavender-stripped scarf and hat. You have a habit of knitting as you read textbooks. Keeping your hands busy aids your concentration. Here, take these to keep warm, you insist, and press them into Karkat's hands. You don't need to, I'm fine, Karkat insists, but you give him a look, and he knows better than to argue with that. You watch as he puts on the hat and scarf, and puts the hat and scarf on with a sigh. Go on, then, Karkat nudges you, holding his wrist up near his face so he'll see it when the spell kicks in. You reach into your bag and draw out the box that you buried in winter. The only thing inside is your blanket. Karkat's belt of holding is back in your dorm. Last time it was genuinely frightening. No one could see you, no matter what you did, and Karkat just left you there in that cemetery. You don't blame him, of course, but it wasn't an especially enjoyable experience. Still, you have to do what you have to do. You remove the blanket, and you get to see the very moment that Karkat's eyes unfocus and refocus. He looks right through you, and then notices his wrist and the note attached. He frowns and reads it curiously, going over it several times before uneasily crouching in the alleyway and waiting for you. You breathe a sigh of relief. He didn't leave you. Stashing the box and the blanket in your bag, separately you hurry out of the alleyway and across the road to the Department of Health building. It takes a few minutes before someone with a card swipes in, and you're able to tail them into the building and through the lackluster security. You want to get a move on because, without remembering, there's no way to tell how long Karkat will trust his own message. Another unknown factor that you're going to have to grapple with is that, although you are invisible to everyone when you are under the spell of your blanket, you know that knowledge of your existence comes back when it is returned to the box. Your friends and brother remembered you the moment it was put back, but you don't know if people you pass in the hallway will suddenly remember you. You're going to assume that it works much like the event, in that people might recall you walking down the hall, but unless something prompts them to ask why you were there, or to look at the security cameras, then they won't think of anything. That's what you're hoping, and failing that, you have Karkat's alibi to back you up. All the same, you do your best to be inconspicuous as you work out the right route to your and Dave's birth certificates. You linger by a break room for a moment where you see someone leave their office to get a drink. You pass them and slip inside to their computers. It takes a moment, but you manage to work out how to search for records on their system. You put in your last name and date of your birth certificate on the certificate that the certificate was issued, which is notably different than your actual date of birth. That's another sign your mother returned later to register you. The computer gives you a storage location, and you click out of the search feature and leave the office before the man who works returns there. It takes 20 minutes for you to find the right area in the stacks below the building. They're the kind of shelves that are bunched up together, and you have to manually crack them to create a walkway. The records are arranged by date and location in boxes on shelves, and though it takes a moment, you manage to pull out a neglected document box neatly labeled with the right date and hospital. Within the 2-week period this box covers, there are birth records and death records, all arranged by name. You flick through and stop when you spot your last name. Lalonde Rose. Aha, next record. Lane Charles. Oh, of course, Dave is earlier in the alphabet than you, stupid. You flip one record back from yours. Knight Katrina. What? You pull your record out, lick your finger, and rub the paper, trying to dislodge Dave's birth certificate that surely must be attached to yours. They must have been filed out at the same time, so they probably got swashed together. You rub at them, but it's certainly just your certificate there. It must be misfiled. You pick the box up and move out of the stacks, suddenly paranoid that someone might move them and crush you unknowingly. You find a light and settle down on the floor just under it. Ever so carefully, you take out each record one by one and check them over. A solid 15 minutes pass, and you've checked every record in the box, but Dave is nowhere to be found. You even go back and check the previous and next box from your hospital just in case Dave's birth certificate was submitted at a different date to yours. Anxiety and confusion vie for supremacy in your mind as you try to consider an explanation for this. It is perfectly believable that your mother destroyed, lost, or magically used your brother's birth certificate. She could be storing it in a different place. That's absolutely believable. It is also entirely possible that the very small hospital near your home misplaced Dave's birth certificate in this batch of papers sent off, or that your mother chose to register your births on different days. It seems unlikely, because she would have to bring you both out of the house to register just one of you. She wouldn't just leave one of you at home alone days from birth for hours at a time. There could be any number of reasons for Dave's birth certificate being missing. It's unusual but entirely possible. However, for Dave's to be missing from your home, as well as from here, is orders of magnitude less likely than either event happening alone. You chew on the edge of your thumbnail as you think. You need to eliminate as many variables as possible. That trite and overused Sherlock Holmes quote comes to mind. When you've eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. The truth is what you intend to get. As you return the box, you slip back upstairs to the office and repeat your trick of waiting for a free computer. You sit down in someone else's chair, as if you belonged, and search for your own record of birth. Not just your last name, but specifically your record. Looking it over, everything seems to be correct. Then, in a new window, you search for Dave. The machine pops up several records for Dave. His social security, his teleportation account, voting registration, his birth records. All the same things came up for yours, too. You click on his birth record, and the record opens up easily. Dave's record is identical to yours. Well, it's not. His name and sex aren't the same, but the rest is, including the location of his physical certificate. Yet, it's not there. There goes your hopes that his record might be stored somewhere else for some reason or checked out. You falter for a moment, looking between Dave's record and yours. They actually are identical. You are supposedly the same weight, length. In fact, the handwriting is all exact. This isn't a digital form filled in. It's a direct scan of the certificate, as if it's been photocopied, or it's been It's as if it's been photoshopped lazily to put very basic info in for Dave. Wait, there's one more difference, the time of birth. He's down as being born 5 minutes after you. It's just that. His sex and name, that's all, or that's different. That's weird. That's really weird. The man who has this desk is lingering in the doorway with an expression of bemusement, like he's trying to remember if he's forgotten something. It's an expression you're now familiar with. If you're interrupting someone with a task they're trying to do, they won't do whatever it is, but they also don't know why they're not doing it. You hastily exit out of your search and get out of the man's seat. As soon as you do, he sits down again and returns to work as if nothing happened. Your mind is churning with questions, but you don't think you'll find any more answers here. Instead, you opt to leave as casually as you can in case you do appear in the cameras later. All you have to do is slip out of the building, across the road, into the alleyway where you left. Where is Karkat? The alleyway is suspiciously empty of Karkats of any description. You stick your hand in your bag, intending on putting the blanket away, and hoping that Karkat will come back for you. But as you do so, you hear the distant sound of him laughing. Curiosity entices you to follow the sound, and you find Karkat a little way down the alleyway and around a corner talking to a guy who looks kind of shady to you. Holy shit, then what? Karkat laughs. Well then, having got these things in a feeding frenzy over a little soap, we grab one of the guys and throw him in. He's all screaming and thrashing until he realizes that the damn things aren't eating him at all. The stranger guffaws. You look at the tired-looking man and realize he's wearing the hat and scarf that you knitted. He looks as if he hasn't showered for a while, and he's wearing quite old-looking clothes, and holding a large beat-up bag with carefully rolled-up sleeping bag in it. You're pretty sure that he's homeless, and now you feel guilty for thinking he was shifty-looking. You have to have got in trouble for that, surely, Karkat snickers. Sergeant told us off because he had to, but you could see he thought it was hilarious too. Air Force idiots. The man snickers. It's always good when your boss is cool. Mine is terrifying, but definitely cool, so I can get behind that. Karkat nods. Didn't you say you worked in a library at some fancy school? The man snorts. A magic library. The books sometimes try to bite you, and one recently possessed me and made me try to kill my boy. Karkat falters. Your boy? The man repeats. Yeah, you know, my boy, my friend. So yeah, it's a more dangerous job than you think. Karkat says hastily, probably not wanting to tell some stranger that he's dating another man. I guess so. You really sure I can keep these? The homeless man asks, changing the subject and tugging at the scarf. Absolutely. I don't even really feel the cold. Besides, I can't even remember where I picked them up, so they can't be that important. Karkat smiles. You linger for a moment as Karkat talks happily to this man, who seems to be a veteran of some branch of the military. A man who Karkat gave up his hat and scarf to in January. You slip back down the alleyway when you're out of view of the two of them, and put the blanket away and walk back to Karkat. Witnessing the sudden realization of who you are flash over Karkat's face is a lot more entertaining when him forgetting you was under your control. It's a mix of, just remembered I left the oven on, and fuck, I forgot our anniversary type of panic. Karkat, there you are. You smile at him. The man fixes Karkat with a grin that suggests that he thinks Karkat is about to be in trouble. Rose, yes, I'm sorry, I wandered off, and Karkat glances at the man, clearly realizing he just gave your gift away. It's no problem. We should go, though, you say diplomatically. I'll leave you to that. Thanks again for the cash and the clothes, the man says with a genuine smile and claps Karkat on the arm. Don't mention it. Karkat smiles a little weakly and waves. When the two of you are alone, Karkat turns and gives you an apologetic look. I'm sorry, I forgot He starts to apologize. You had no idea I existed. It's fine. Besides, I think he needed them more. Though, it's telling that I can't leave you alone for an hour without you going off to do good deeds. You smile. I wasn't cold, and it's not a good deed to just talk to someone like they're a person. The bar is far too low if that's what counts. Anyway, I gave your stuff away. Even if I forgot, I still did it. So really, I got a net negative there. Karkat mutters. And the cash he mentioned, you pry. It was enough for coffee and a lunch, something I can make at home. It's not... Karkat is going red. Aw, isn't he just an angel? Still, you probably shouldn't tease him on it this much. Do you mind if we get going? I need to pick your brains about what I found. You ask. Karkat eagerly obliges, and in no time at all, you're in the clouds above New York City and flying back towards Salem. When it seems like Karkat's at whatever passes for coasting along, for a being that flies without paying too much attention to physics, you start to talk. Dave's birth certificate wasn't there. I looked everywhere it physically could be, you tell him. That's really odd. Karkat admits. The odds of it being missing from my mother's safe and here are very low indeed. You agree? Yeah, it does seem like something's up. Karkat nods. I looked up digitally, and his birth certificate was scanned in on the system, but it looked like a bad copy of mine, with just his name, sex, and time of birth changed. Everything else was a pixel-for-pixel copy, you say. You think it's a fake record? He asks. It has to be, but I don't know why. Maybe Dave's not really my brother? Maybe he's a changeling or something like that? You say, and you can feel hysteria starting to bubble inside of you. You kept calm inside the records office, but now it's becoming so clear that something is deeply wrong, and you're away from everyone else and can express it. It's just coming to the surface. Okay, first of all, a changeling would replace a child already there, unless you think some inept fae wandered in to replace you and went through that thing where you walk into a room and forget what you came in there for, then headed back to the Feywilds without a child at all. So even if Dave was fae and no one knew it, there would still be a legit birth certificate. Also, maybe don't suggest to Jade that being a changeling makes you not real, or to Dave that he's not your brother. You grew up with him, he's still your brother, Karkat says reasonably. Shit, you're right. I didn't mean it like that. I know he's my brother, and I don't think that about fae or changelings. Don't tell them I said that. You say, a hot flush of shame rises up your neck. I didn't hear anything. So if it's a fake record, then why? Or, Karkat trails off. Or, you prompt him. Well, the event was a spell of some kind. Some of the effects weren't how June anticipated them to be, so it makes sense that the event works on the same kind of logic that regular spell bugs have. We already know there's a time problem from the video and the notes you left yourself. What if the birth certificates are wonky because of that? Digital copies work enough for you to be able to do whatever, but people don't check physical ones all that often, so they're messed up or missing, Karkat suggests. But my birth certificate is fine, you point out. What if Dave isn't your twin? He could be your younger brother or something. Maybe the event wound you back to his age and changed his physical birth certificate to yours and just duplicated your digital one to hand-wave it away. His and yours could have ended up like that from some syntax error or something, Karkat says. That makes some sense, you say slowly. You can believe that you're not the age you think you are. Karkat was made to look younger, June faked aging, and you've seen videos of yourself at this age when you should have been a child. Something is wrong with time. The idea that instead of winding time back as a whole, people were wound back instead makes sense in a way that you can't quite explain. But even though broad strokes of this theory make sense, you're not sure that's exactly right. You tip your head back as Karkat flies and close your eyes against the sun. You and Dave are twins. You know that. So what the hell is going on? When you and Karkat land back in Salem, he showers and goes to bed pretty soon after. He did fly all that way carrying you, so it's no wonder he's tired. It takes a while longer for you to turn in for bed, but when you do, sleep takes you easily. Perhaps you should have been more on alert for what things the Sandman might bring you, seeing as he was so eager. You didn't have that foresight, so when the dream finally hits you, it takes you fully. You are stuck at a fixed point, rotating but unable to move. This would be more horrifying were you not aware that you're looking through something fixed. It's not your body that's frozen, and strung up. Light glitters through you onto the steps of the bus beyond. You watch passengers disembark with tired faces and new ones getting on. They show their tickets to the driver and head down to take their seats. The door are just about to close when a hand stops them, and a man climbs aboard the bus. A demon. He climbs the steps with a lack of grace of a teenager who's just hit a sudden growth spurt and yet he doesn't trip or really stumble. He has no luggage with him at all save for a large doll, its long noodly limbs ending in plush sneakers and round white gloves respectively. There are flies around it, and though you cannot smell, you are certain it does. You know it smells of rotting meat, and this knowledge exists even in you, even though you didn't ask for it or want it. The driver recoils back, though whether it's from the smell emanating from the doll or from the painted placid face of the demon dragging it, you don't know. The driver falters, looking at the doll, then to the demon once again. He seems to weigh his options, the consequences of refusal versus the risk of what compliance might bring. He swallows thickly and stares again. Do you have a ticket? The driver asks. The demon shakes his head and seems to notice you, his purple eyes locked onto you. Where are you going? The driver asks, and the demon's attention shifts back to him. You could sigh with relief if you could sigh with relief, you would. Where are you going? The demon asks. Los Angeles, the driver says timidly. The demon smiles, showing off pointed teeth. He nods and heads to a pair of seats at random without buying a ticket. As he turns, you get a better look at the doll, and your eyes lock with its own plastic ones, staring nightmare blue that pierces you, set off with a rictus smile that echoes laughter in your mind. You awake with a scream, scrambling out from under the covers and falling onto the floor in an effort to get away from something that isn't anywhere near you. It would be comforting to tell yourself that what you saw wasn't real, but that's not something you can do. Chapter end! That's the chapter! Oh my goodness. Whoa, fun stuff tonight. What is going on with Dave? What's going on with Rose? What is going on? Who knows? Oh, that rhymed. Wow. End of chapter. Yep, chapter end. What? What? What dream? Oh my god, a dream? Ending on a dream. Dave, Rose, nobody knows. But I gotta scroll up. Oh my goodness. You guys are talking about class specs. Class specting is so fun, and blood color. I'm a Knight of Breath and Prospect aligned. I love the church scene. Oh my goodness, I love the church scene so much. It lives in my brain. Oh my god, it's so fucking pale. My god, I love the church scene. It's so good. What's tomorrow's chapter? Tomorrow, about the same length. Are we back to Carcat? No, we're still on Rose POV tomorrow. I like the Rose POV. Big fan. No information I hadn't guessed yet, so not much theory ground, but interesting nonetheless. It helps. Oh, not tomorrow, because tomorrow's Friday. Thank you, Cena, for reminding me. Monday. I always just say tomorrow because I have no sense of time. Monday is when we'll be doing the next one. We're not doing Friday. We only did Friday once, and it was an exception. It's not the rule. So we will be going Monday. Thankfully, I guess this is kind of a cliffhanger-y. Not crazy cliffhanger-y, but a little bit cliffhanger-y at the end. But yeah, you just, Rose, you just got a lot of confirmation. Gay Jesus, oh my god, thank you for the resub. The 6 months, my god. What a streak. But Rose, this was mostly a chapter that was kind of not like confirming, I guess confirming things that you, or like furthering, what do you call it? Further helping the implications or the theory crafting that you've done. Signless is right there. Gay Jesus, signless, one and the same. Literally signless. Oh my god, so true. It's so true. So true. Fleshing it out, yeah, that's a good way to put it. But yeah. Oh my goodness. So fun stuff. But yeah, I know you guys were talking about class specting and stuff earlier. I love class specting. I think that the extended Homestuck quiz though, I don't think is that accurate. The test itself isn't that accurate in my current opinion. I think it's better if you just wiki it. If you go on the wiki and look at the different descriptions, and you end up kind of picking and choosing for yourself. I'll let you know that I'm currently reading through DBDC, and it's going interestingly. Between YWDMP and DBDC, Dave and Soluk seem to have a scene that when one of them goes missing and presumed dead, that they know they are not just Dave's whole things. What's the one that happens in DBDC? when does Solux almost, when does Solux almost die in DBDC? There's a few times. There's actually no, I know exactly what you're talking about, because I'm guessing this is like vague spoilers for DBDC. So apologize for that. But when he molts twice? Because doesn't Solux, there's a point where Solux molts twice, and it's like everybody freaks out about it. Because he molts once, and then and Dirk's like, I don't know where the fuck he went, he disappeared, and everybody's like freaking out, and then they realize that he went back into the oh shit, I'm so sorry. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, Rose. I didn't say anything. I never said anything. I did not I need to shut the fuck up. I need to remember that when you say you didn't finish it. You didn't finish it. Okay, my bad. I'm sorry. Thankfully it's minor. I'm so sorry. Sorry. When you say you're oh. I didn't say anything. Never mind. You didn't hear anything from me. Anyways. That's at the end, Chris. Oh my god. But yeah, where's my sign? My sign is actually, my friend assigned me this, and then I was like, oh my god. Yeah, this is my sign. I'm Prospit, Breath, and then a Scorpio. So I'm a Scorpius, sign of the victorious. Oh my god, that also rhymed. Oh, I'm so smart. And then I'm also a knight. I'm a knight of breath. You have the same sign as Vicaire? What's Vicaire's sign? I don't actually know the Hive Swap people that well. Vicaire is... Isn't he like... He's bronze, right? Is this Vicaire? Is this Vicaire? This looks... I don't remember Vicaire's sign. Durst in mind. Oh, I was so smart. I did remember. I'm not sure if I'm Durst or Prospit. I think it's kind of a... I honestly... The way I determined if I was Durst or Prospit was... Even though it's not... I don't actually know how direct it's supposed to be. But the way that YWDMP does past and future... not dreamers. Past and future balancers is what... like made me figure out what... Because it's supposed to be like that, right? At least that's how I kind of... Even though... Aradia's... you know... It's debatable. Aradia's doesn't match up with what she is in canon Homestuck, but Aradia's also arguably a different person in an AU, so you know. I mean, sort of, but also no. Yeah. Yeah, right. Like it's like it doesn't work. Even though that's what it like, because that's what my first theory was when I was reading through, and then I had to go and I had to check because I was like, wait, but Aradia isn't. Like, that doesn't work. So, I think maybe Unda is just more correct about the character. No, I'm kidding. It only matches for Daysol Cat. Does it really? I guess it does. Yeah, I guess it only matches for DSK. Does it not match with, Oh, I guess you wouldn't know if it matched for... Oh, what's his name? What's the name of the Hive Swap character that is also a balancer? Oh my god, what's his name? Oh, it's... I always think Vicaire, it's not Vicaire. Fuck, I don't remember Hive Swap trolls that well. You guys know who I'm talking about, though. Full... I think it starts with an F. Who is it? Fozzer! There it is. I guess we wouldn't know with Fozzer because I'm assuming we don't see his fucking dream self in Hive Swap. Ba-ba-ba-da-bum. Ba-ba-ba-da-bum. You can check with the sign. Oh, we can. Wait. What's the sign again? Fozzer sign. Fozzer, Hive Swap. We can look at his sign. You're so right. Okay, he's this one? Durst. What was he in? He was... No, so that doesn't work either. He was future in YWDMP, right? He was a future balancer? Because he had reader. But yeah, he was a future balancer. So it doesn't work here either. Wow, I wonder, man. It just so it doesn't see. That was always my theory. I was always like, man, I bet it only aligns for Dave. It aligned for Dave Soulcat, and it's the only people that I remembered, right? Like really clearly, because I didn't remember what Aradia was. So I was like, it must be, you know, based on Prospect and Durst alignments, and then it wasn't. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, that's fine. I guess Lunar Sway also isn't exactly the same as what future and past balancers, like what they represent in YWDMP anyways. So it's not really the one-to-one thing. But yeah. I think YWDMP's system is cool. Right, because that's like how you deal with issues. Yeah. And Lunar Sway is a little different from how I understand it. To be fair, I don't understand Lunar Sway that. I don't understand most things that well. At least with Homestuck. It's funny, once I so September was when I started reading Homestuck. I think. And when like 1 year, when I hit like 1 year since I read Homestuck for the first time, me and my friend are gonna do, or we're hoping, we're gonna do another read through. But this time we're going to do it where I'm going to be like trying my hardest to like understand. I'm gonna ask questions, I'm gonna take notes, I'm gonna like make sure that I like fully understand as much as I can of the story and like the characters, and I'm like gonna really focus on it, because now I can ask questions because my friend doesn't have to worry about spoiling me. And we can like discuss things and I can point things out, and it's gonna be very fun, and I'm ready for my mind to be filled with Homestuck knowledge. Because let's be honest, I don't fucking remember Homestuck. I do not remember I do not remember Homestuck story in the slightest. Every time I rewatch Cascade, I am shocked at how little I actually know what's going on. It's quite amusing. I'll rewatch it and I'll be like, wow, I do not remember what the fuck this is. Like, I don't remember what they were doing in these flashes. Now, to be fair, Homestuck flashes are kind of nonsensical in so many senses. In a lot of ways. The only, like, there's only a couple Homestuck flashes, like the iconic ones that I can really look at and be like, I remember everything about this one. And that's probably like Make Her Pay, and that's about it. I still don't know what the fuck is happening with Midnight Crew. Vouch. Anything with the intermissions, I was like, I have no idea what the fuck's going on. They were cool, and I enjoyed reading them, but I was like, man, I have no clue. Jade Enter? Which one was Jade Enter? Jade Enter. Oh, Jade Enter was cool. I need to read Problem Sleuth. I probably should. But, I don't know. For me, it's like, the thing that I like about Homestuck is, what do you call it? I like the characters, like, especially, like, later on. I'm such a Dave fan. Like, the early Homestuck was cool. Like, I like the cool, like, the game mechanics and them kind of doing that stuff. But the whole interactiveness, and not the interactiveness, the gamify aspect of it and the kind of goofiness and silliness wasn't, like, the main appeal to me. And I know for some people it was, especially, like, old Homestuck heads. Who, like, you know, read it as they were growing up or as it was coming out. They really liked early Homestuck, and early Homestuck isn't bad. Like, I'm not one of those people who is like, I skip to the trolls, because you shouldn't skip to the trolls. You're insane if you skip to the trolls. But like, it's like, you know, I can take it or leave it. Just to the quiz, I'm a Pura Prospect in Mind. So that's Prospect in Mind. And then what blood color? Pura would be are you Pisces? Pisces. Pura sign. Pura Homestuck sign. That is this one here. Yes. Fuchsia, Prospect, Mindbound. It'd be easier to know what the fuck's going on with Midnight Crew if there weren't like 5 different tracks. Yeah. Yeah. I just listen to funky music and watch the colors, and I'm like, woohoo, things are happening. Yep. When I watched Cascade, the biggest thing that for me during Cascade that blew my mind was watching the what's it called? Oh my god. Oh, what's the attack that Jack does called? Red Miles. When Red Miles happens and the aspect ratio gets bigger, I was like, holy fuck. Watching the screen expand, I was like, holy fuck, this is the most insane thing I've seen in my entire life. Like, I was very like, fucking like bat chest about it. But I was still, I was still like blown away. I was like, this is so sick. I got chills about it. It's crazy. The degree to which I relate to Unda's interpretation of Karkat concerns me a lot, as a lot of the things I relate to are slightly concerning, and watching Karkat do them from an outside perspective is true. My view of Karkat is a little harsher than Unda's, but I also love him. Yeah, I think Karkat is more of a prick than Unda tends to write him. But that's okay, because I don't mind that Karkat's nicer. But Karkat in canon is such an asshole. He's a very beloved asshole that cares so much, and I love him. But he is such a prick. Though I think that can be said about most people's kind of interpretations of characters from fanon. Or from canon to fanon. Because, like, Solux is also a bitch and like a prick, and doesn't he like specifically like not want to interact with the kids either? Like, he goes out of his way to like, you know, like I very vividly remember him and Karkat and Solux's conversations, and just they like, the whole joke is that they're like absolute assholes to each other, but at the end it's always like, we're still friends though, right? Like, are we still friends? And like, that's the bit, but like, they're still dicks. Like, Solux is a dick. Basically everyone in Homestuck is kind of a bitch, so I don't mind that being toned down for everyone. Yeah, that's my kind of take on it. Yeah, Solux doesn't want to interact with any of the kids. Yeah, him and Dave never have a single conversation together, never exchange a single word. Crazy. Crazy. So insane. They're also all 13. Yes, absolutely. They're also all babies. Solux and Dave have so many parallels, though. It's crazy. They have so many parallels. They have so many parallels. That one passed along where they were talking about how hating each other more than the other. What was going on? Yeah. Where was that one? Hold on. If you're currently reading Homestuck, and you don't want spoilers for this one conversation, I think I found. Is it this one? Yeah. Okay, how about you take your own advice? You are such a blubbering hypocrite. You're lucky I'm so fucking magnanimous and charitable, because otherwise there's no chance I'd waste my time on you. What a load of shit, this act that you actually think you're a hotshot. You know you hate yourself. Nobody hates himself more than you do, idiot. Yeah, well, I hate you way more than I hate myself, and that's fucking saying something. In fact, I hate you more than I hate myself, and you hate yourself, and you hate me and more than... In fact, I hate you more than I hate myself, and you hate yourself, and you hate me combined. Oh, fuck that noise in every leaking orifice. It's got you... It's got, you know, I hate the combined product of you and myself more than you could ever begin to hate me and myself and you and yourself on your worst day. So fucking deal with it. Okay, timeout for the idiot. This idiot gets a timeout and shuts up for a second. That's you. Just tell me what to do about this game. Like, come on. The pitch flirting? You're in public. And by public, I mean these DMs are in public to me because I can read them. Take it to a room. Oh my god. Kiss already? Anyways, there's like this, if See, the thing is, here's the thing. If AU Solux heard this, imagine AU Solux hearing this, and he fucking flusters. Canon Homestuck Solux hears this and doubles down and triples down. They go back later and Karkat's like, we should delete these logs. Yeah. Actually, why don't we make a pact to delete this from our logs? I'm just shuddering, scrolling up and reading this. Yeah, okay. Like, I love them so much. They're literally, I don't know how we did not get confirmation that these two are not in a pitch relationship. They are literally pitch in canon. It is so insane, the fucking hate flirting that they do. Oh my god. Like, look at this. Yeah, I'm such an idiot for not rewarding your bubbly personality and impeccable people skills with a leadership gig. What an inconsiderate knuckle-sponged asshole I have been. I am a hatch leader and you know it. I know your filthy seed flap is flustering in profane breeze that's shooting out of the stinking meal tunnel. I do know that much. How did you get out of your cocoon in the morning, knowing you're the worst thing a universe was ever responsible for? Also, it must be hard with your hands to persistently bothering every mutated set of generals, peppering that ghastly husk you pawn off as a body. Has the female ever looked at you without once turning skyward and erupting like a vomit volcano? Answer me that. This is so immature. I'm basically just laughing here at how immature you are. Like, I really give a fuck who the red leader is. You want to be the leader? Fine, talk to GC about it. I guess this conversation we had. like, look at this. They have an art. This is an art form. The art form that they have with being able to insult each other is beautiful. Oh my god. Oh, this is so good. It's so fucking good. I want this conversation posted on my goddamn wall. It's so great. The only thing I think of is that this happens before the quadrant explanation, so it was potentially written before the idea of quadrants ever existed. Maybe it's possible. I think the idea that like Karkat is like ashamed of it is like slamming his head. Karkat saying he's pitched with himself to avoid the Solux pitch allegations. True. Though if Karkat could be polyamorous in any quadrant, it would be pitch. He can fit himself in there, he can fit Solux in there, he can fit Dave in there, he could fit fucking everyone in there. My god. This boy got feelings. Oh my god, I literally love this comic so much. Anyways, I did have that bookmarked, by the way, just for the people who asked. That's how I got it so fast. Oh, they're so great. I think his issue is he's too polyamorous. I really like how I actually don't know how canon it is. I can't remember how canon it is, but like in Unda's Fix, and even just in fanon in general, right? Karkat like having issues with quadrants and like his whole thing of like he smears quadrants, and that's why he's so obsessed with them, because he wants to be able to fit in with like troll society, and like pictures himself being able to put people in quadrants properly and like perfectly, and that's why he's like again so obsessed with it. Is like so good to me. It's so good to me. And then when Fanon then takes that and is like, well, Karkat works best with human relationships because they don't have quadrants and it's all about smearing all over the place. And it's like, oh, thank you, give it to me. So, and then you throw in a troll there who's happy to just be there. He says he wants Trezzy in multiple, and that was their issue. He relates to troll gay characters in rom-coms, so yeah. Yep. So that's like the whole thing. And I love him for that. It's never said, but there's a strong bias, or basis. Yeah. I think it's so fun. And I think, like, you know, people could say, like, oh, maybe, you know, like, there's also, like, theories of, like, maybe it has to do with his mutation. But I even just like it as, like, not an allegory, but, like, kind of a comparison to, like, you know, even like homosexuality, right? Because obviously trolls are all pansexual. There's no issues with you know, sexuality and stuff. But the idea of being like pan-quadrant, you know, I think that's the term that they use in MC Escher, that Unda uses in MC Escher. Am I crazy, or did I just make that up? Yeah, the idea of being like pan-quadrant. Trolls are all pansexual. Yes, it's confirmed that because like it's essentially confirmed because, you know, there's a comment that John makes at one point because Karkat is like, isn't he like hate flirting with John at one point? And John's like, whoa, I am not a homosexual. And Karkat's like, what the fuck is that? And it basically confirms that like the concept of sexuality doesn't exist for trolls. And they're, you know, they're all considered pansexual. At least that's what I remember. Trolls do not have the concept of gay the way humans do. Yeah. I think he's troll gay, and then Kanaya, who is literally gay, is also troll gay. Like the idea that you are only attracted to one gender in the society would be weird. So she is troll gay. Is Kanaya confirmed only to be strictly a lesbian? Because at least in because then you get into the question of like, okay, concupiscent versus, you know, conciliatory quadrants and stuff. Here's a fun little thing I've been thinking about for troll relationships, but not in quadrants, is what the word sisters and brothers mean in troll culture, since the idea of a sibling in a human way definitely doesn't exist. Yet Vriska and Terezi are the Scourge sisters, and Gamzee calls people brother and sister a lot. Oh. She's only had crushes on girls with the exception of Ash. That makes sense. I guess, like, it makes sense that there's an idea of, like, preference, because I think that preference would make sense, but it's confirmed that the concept of sexuality in the terms of that way humans do is not something that is in like the trolls do not have. Yeah, Rose, I haven't thought about that, because like you could argue that it's like, okay, it's used as a term because like we as humans are like familiar with it, and Hussey was a human writing it, right? And just didn't think to keep that in mind. But Gamzee, I mean, uses the word a lot. I always find it interesting when in fics, it's like humans, if there's like some sort of language barrier, or like trolls meeting humans for the first time, and humans have to explain the concept of like family, like what family is. And they're always like, what, like, and in my head, it's always like, oh, what's a brother and sister? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But I guess they do use those terms in Homestuck. But not in, like, a familial way. Like, they wouldn't understand the concept behind it, right? Of, or, like, not the concept, the logistics behind it, of, like, what having a family is. But they do use those words in Homestuck. Okay, maybe Hussey wasn't thinking about it, but I think it's very fun to come up with meaning, even if it probably doesn't, or if it didn't previously exist. Yes, I agree with you. I think, and I've talked about this before, I think people give Hussey more credit than they deserve for a lot of things that happened in Homestuck. I believe almost 100% that Hussey did not plan for Bro to be seen as abusive from the start. I think it's supposed to be a joke. I think it's very clearly Bro being weird is supposed to be a joke, and it just really worked out well, and the opportunity kind of hit that people interpreted it as Bro, like, you could look at it as like kind of a darker way of like, oh, you know, Bro being abusive, and then it's like, oh, well, you know, Dave thought it was a joke, right? And that was his way of coping with it. And then, you know, then it kind of graduated, and then it ended up making Dave into kind of a deeper character, and, you know, adding kind of some trauma and stuff to his backstory, and painting Bro in a different light, blah, blah, blah. But that, like, kind of was an opportunity that came about because the fandom theorized it in that way, and Hussey looked at that and was like, oh, that's actually a great idea. Like, I can move on to that and use that and do that. But I'm not going to give Hussey credit for doing that, for thinking that whole story from conception, because that definitely was not their plan from the very beginning. Like, it is so, I definitely don't think that bro at the beginning writing that was intended to be a character that was abusive. It graduated into that, and when it graduated into that, it ended up, you know, being pretty good. Like, it ended up being some really interesting writing. But yeah, I definitely don't think that was the intention. And there are other things that I think that are like that in Homestuck, that I think Hussie gets a little too much credit for. But Homestuck is still written fairly well and has its moments. But I also think it's a very, 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 very flawed piece of media. But it's also like, every piece of media is flawed. You know, there is no perfect piece of media. And Homestuck is iconic and interesting and still, like, I don't want to say good, is still fascinating, both despite and in spite of its flaws and its traits. The amount that, like, the fandom influenced the comic itself is fascinating to me. Like, how much would have been different if it didn't get as big as it did? Absolutely. Engaging is a great word, yeah. I think there's a great podcast that I kind of stopped listening to, mostly because I've been busy and doing other things, but it's called Homestuck Made This World, and it's on Spotify. And it's basically these two guys. One is brand new at reading Homestuck, reading it for the first time, and the other is an old Homestuck who read it as it was coming out, and he was, like, in college when it was coming out, and he was reading it, like, alongside it. And they kind of go through, it's like a read through of Homestuck. They read through Homestuck, and they kind of do, like, you're supposed to read on your own, like, 300 pages or so each episode. And they'll discuss the episodes, or they'll discuss the stuff that happens in the episodes. But they also go over a lot of history and a lot of, like, stuff in the fandom that was happening as Homestuck was developing, and it gave me a lot of insight as to, like, Hussie's mindset and the kind of thing that the fandom was influencing that ended up making shifts and changes in the story. Like, a great example of this, and this is something that they hit pretty early on, because this reveal isn't crazy early, but it's early enough, right? The reveal of ectobiology, and the fact that John and Jade are siblings, and then Dave and Rose are siblings. Before this, right before that reveal, it was very, 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 very common in the fandom to ship either, like, all the kids together as, like, a polyamorous thing, or to, like, ship Dave and Rose, to ship John and Jade, like, to ship them, right? And that was completely fine, right? Because, you know, they were just kids. Like, we all just assumed they were kids and had no relation to each other. And then, but there was also this kind of, like, you had the people that were on the forums, the Something Awful forums, versus the people who were, like, on what was the name of the other forum called, where it was actually getting published, on the MSPA forums. And people on the MSPA forums were more, like, ship friendly, and, like, they were more, like, really excited to do, like, ships and stuff like that, while the people on, like, Something Awful and, like, 4chan and all that hated the shippers, and thought, like, any shipping stuff was weird, it was gross, blah blah blah. And then Hussie comes in with this fucking wrecking ball of a reveal, and is like, hey, they are related. Some of these guys are related. And now everybody is fucking floundering, like, oh my god, I was shipping incest this whole time. Like, oh my god, this is awful. And the people on the Something Awful forums and 4chan were all laughing, because it's like, ha, look at those fucking idiots. Aw, the fucking fandom, idiots who are all shipping, like, take that for your stupid ships. And it was, like, awful. But it was this moment of, like, Hussie, like, because like the podcast, like, explains kind of some of the stuff that Hussie said on, like, answer threads and stuff like that. But Hussie was very I don't even know how to explain it. Was a prick. Was very, like, hostile towards their fandom. Very just mean. Was always, like, trying to kind of catch people out and, like, reveal, quote unquote, reveals for the sake of reveals. Yes, a very, like, fuck you always to the audience. Everything was, like, a fuck you. like the ectobiology reveal was a part of that, right? And it's also so funny to see to gradually you see, and again they discuss this more in the podcast, but the idea that as the fandom went on, the Something Awful threads and the 4chan threads gradually became more and more like ship friendly and like really into fandom. And it was kind of like fascinating to see that like grow and like that shift. Especially when the trolls started coming around. And then obviously Homestuck graduated into the giant ass fandom that it was. Something like that happened in my first fandom I was ever in. If anyone knows My Street, that sounds familiar, but I don't think I do. Why do you think the ancestors are like that? Yeah. I think the Dancestors are another prime example of like Hussey trying to mock. Now, and the thing is that the Dancestors are very like fitting for Homestuck as a piece of media, right? Like because like the trolls themselves are archetypes, right? Carcat is like the fucking rage all caps, fucking dumbass that you read online. Solix is the loser nerd who thinks he's too smart for people. I when I was younger, when I was like 12 or something, like on the internet, I was posting these Littlest Pet Shop videos, right? And this is like deep Chris lore. I still have a channel. I had like 300 subscribers. I have all these videos. I was going through them earlier, actually. And I typed like Kanaya. Like I would type with the first letter caps. And I didn't read Homestuck. I just typed like Kanaya. I typed like Kanaya all the time. And like people like that on the internet existed of like, and I was very polite. I was a very polite little kid online. But I was also a loser and I was a dork and I made Littlest Pet Shop videos. But it was, even the trolls are all archetypes. But the Dancestors are like that, but even worse. The Dancestors are like so much worse. If you look at Aridin and you're like, that's an incel, then Cronus comes along and you're like, oh my god. You're like, my god. Homestuck Cancri is so just wow. Trolls are so easy to latch on to because you will be like one of them. The thing that's funny is the whole idea of the fandom where it's like the trolls are also connected to your zodiac. So I'm assigned Vriska by Hussey. I'm assigned Vriska, and I'm like, fuck you, fuck you. Now, to be fair, at least I wasn't assigned Aridin. At least I was not assigned. At least I'm not an Aquarius. At least I'm not an Aquarius. I feel bad for you, fucks. Right? Like, at least it's not the worst. Or at least I'm not like a Sagittarius, right? I'd be so sad. At least like my character, my fucking assigned Homestuck troll at birth is at least she's like, fucking iconic. At least she's not like a fascist or an incel. I'm guessing I was supposed to say Aridin Rose. I like Aridin a bit too, as a narrative device at least. Oh, no, never mind. Oh, you're talking about the other thing. You're talking about that first. I see. Oh, yeah, you guys are having a different conversation. My bad. Mine's Tavros. I just get to watch him get shit over and over again. Me watching him slut shame porn. Go boy, give us nothing. Yeah. My opinion on Ayn and Aridin are very similar. I did not watch, oh my god, is it Afmao? Growing up, I haven't heard about it, but I actually don't know what it is. I always thought it was a Minecraft thing, but maybe it's not. It is a Minecraft thing. Is it? It is. Okay. I did not watch this. I did watch Minecraft when it was in its golden era growing up. But I did not watch this creator. Like one of the oldest Minecraft YouTube role plays. Oh, I see. Me reading Homestuck as an adult was me being like, oh god, I would have been car kicking. I tell this people seriously. Because I am serious about it. If I had read Homestuck as a child, my name would be Dave. I would have been one of the many trans guys, one of the many trans guy Homestucks that was named Dave. My name would have been Dave. This is a fact if I had read Homestuck growing up. Like, not a joke. 100% true. It would have happened. I have a friend who almost ended up as Dave for that reason. Yup. Now whenever I see any trans guys named Dave, I'm like, you're not fucking slick. See, the thing is, here's the thing. I was actually talking to a friend about this. If I was going to be, like, if I was crazy enough, I'd never ask a Gen Z trans guy named Dave why he's named Dave. I know what you are. Here's the thing. If I was, like, A, crazy enough, B, like, if you're a Homestuck, and you're like, I need to be named after one of the Homestuck characters. Like, if that is what your mind is at, here's what you do. You do not change your first name. You do not change your last name. You change your middle name. And you do not pick a first name. You pick a last name from a troll. Because that's, like, cool. If my name was, like, Chris Vantis Pullen, like, that's cool. I don't know. That's, like, cool to me. Or, like, I like, the middle names are so cool. The last names are so cool. And you use them as a middle name, and then you're done. And then bada bing, bada boom. You're fine. Like, you get away with it, right? That's a cool name. And see, the Homestucks will know. But also not all Homestucks will know because it's your middle name, right? And you don't reveal that often. And it's also a fun fact, right? Where you're like, yeah. Well, it could be a fun fact. It could always be a cringe fact. It could be a fact that you bring up at parties and you can determine whether you're allowed or not. Of like, yeah, my middle name is Vantis. And it's like, wink, wink, like, who's here, you know? Right? Like, who's here that knows? Like, fucking Strider as a middle name is so sick. Can I, like, Strider or Lalonde as a middle name is so... Hartley is also, like, a normal-ass middle name. Or, like, just a normal-ass name. You can also technically just name yourself, like, Jade or Rose or whatever. Like, those are normal, real names. But if you want it to be, like, kind of a Homestuck reference, like, that's a cool middle name. Maybe not Egbert, but... Should I would make Minecraft people cry though? Yeah. And it's still a net win because my middle name is Rose. Bada bing, bada boom. And listen, it's that easy, right? Like, just use if you are that desperate that you need Homestuck in your name, in your real IRL name, use a troll's last name and make it your middle name. It's that simple. It is that simple. It is that simple. And then bada bing, bada boom. I've actually now, okay, and I'm not crazy. Like, if the thing is, if I ever get a tattoo, it's gonna be, because I get very fixated on fandoms for like a good 2-3 years, maybe max, and then I dip out and I'm onto something else, right? So if I were to ever get a tattoo, I would wait like, I would tell myself like I have to wait like 5 years before I actually get it. But if I were to get a Homestuck tattoo, it would not be Homestuck, okay? I would get a very small I would get a very small in a line, right? I would get a spade, a diamond, a heart, or a spade, a heart, a diamond, and then a club, or like whatever the order is in the quadrants. And I would get them in quadrant colors. But because they are card suits, I can get away with it not being related to Homestuck. It's subtle. It's a subtle reference, and the main reference is that it's in, like, the diamond would be like the palish pinkish or like white, right? The club would be gray. and then obviously you do red and black for the spade and the heart. But you make it small, and you can always say, yeah, I just really love poker, you know, and you just have to be able to back it up, right? Of like, I play poker, or I play cards, and I'm you know, you have a story behind it that isn't, this is the Homestuck quadrants, because that's my favorite part about Homestuck is the quadrants. And I would love to get a little spade on my ankle. I would love to get a little spade on my ankle. I want it so bad. I want to get a little spade on my ankle. But my mom would kill me. My mom would fucking kill me if she discovered that I got a Homestuck tattoo after being in the fandom for like less than a year. So I'm gonna wait on it. It's in my mind. I wait on it. Okay, with the power move of like, oh, I like Homestuck shipping. Yeah, see, in certain circles, I will say exactly that, and it'll be a power move. But if I'm like talking to like an old white man at a bar, I'm not gonna bring up the complexities of Homestuck quadrant ship charts. Maybe I would. Maybe if I'm drunk enough, maybe I would. But most of the time, I'm just gonna say I like cards. So, you know. But yeah, so that'd be like the one thing. Or, and like this would be more Homestucky, I think that the aspect symbols are so fucking cool. If you're gonna get a tattoo and you want it to be very Homestucky, get an aspect tattoo, because they're really cool looking. Or like I like this one too. Somebody just gets the you get just the Spurb logo. Like, this is cool. I'm trying to find ones. There was one I remember seeing. A Doom. There was a Doom one I remember seeing a while ago that was really sick. I wonder if I can find it. Yeah. I think this looks cool. I don't know if I like the placement. I would have placed it somewhere different. But the colors on this, like, this looks sick. This looks really cool. If I were to get this, I would get it on, like, my, I don't know, my thigh? Maybe on my shoulder? I don't know, the arm placement is a little bit weird to me, but it looks pretty sick. But, like, I wouldn't get a character. Someone put a heart symbol on their arm, like the heart aspect, which is kind of cool. Though if you're a heart player, you have other things to worry about. If you're a heart player, my condolences to you. Chris, I'm still in a name purgatory. Sometimes I would like to take a second middle name for funsies. If you want to assign me one, I might accidentally make it part of my personality forever. You don't know. I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to take that responsibility. But you should actually absolutely take on a second middle name if you want to. I have a middle name, and I like it. I'm not going to change it. But adding a second one is, like, kind of a baller move. I want to get small tattoos on my, like, legs or something just for fandoms, because I have, because I like to have, that hyperfixations mean a lot to me. Yeah, I think if, like, the thing is that, like, once I would, here's the thing. If I ever got one tattoo, that's the camel that, or that's the camel that breaks the camel. That's the fucking whatever that breaks the camel's back, right? Like, it's all downhill from there. But if I were to ever, I wouldn't ever get like a full sleeve. The straw, that's the thing. That's the straw that breaks the camel's back. I actually don't know what that means. Is it like implying that like a camel typically carries a big load and you finally put like the last straw on top and that's the thing that like makes it fall because it's too much? Is that the reference? Like I would have gotten a fucking I would have gotten a Minecraft YouTube tattoo. I would have gotten a Persona tattoo. I would have gotten a Critical Role tattoo. I would have gotten an Adventure Zone tattoo. I would have gotten a tattoo from Undertale. I would have gotten a tattoo from like every significant fandom. I would have got a TMA tattoo. It would have happened. It would have all happened. Thankfully, thank God, I have some self-control, and also I got into those fandoms when I was younger, when I wasn't really confident to get a tattoo. Fuck, I would also have gone a Persona tattoo. You're not alone. I think Persona 5 is so fucking cool stylistically that you could get a very cool Persona 5 tattoo and justify it not being a fandom thing. And just because it looks cool as hell. I would have gotten them on my leg where I don't see them all the time, but I can look and smile. Yeah, yeah. I think if you're going to do that, like, that's the way you go. You put it in a subtle place. The only exception is I think it would kind of have something cool to have, like if you hold your hand out, like, up the inside, not where you're, like, the inside of your wrist, like, up the inside of your wrist along your arm. I think that's, like, a cool place for, like, a small, subtle tattoo. It would have been Persona and that's a fandom, but I don't know what it is. I'm a filthy Shuake shipper. I get it. That's Joker and Akechi, right? It's their Japanese names. Or Shu supposed to be Shu is Joker, but Joker's maybe is there a reference to the word hero in Japanese? Isn't the word hero in Japanese Shu? Am I crazy? Maybe it's not. Where's my Jisho? I haven't looked at Jisho in forever. That is Joker and Akechi. I'm just trying to figure out what how Shu happens. Yeah, because protagonist is... Isn't it because of this? Hold on. Yeah, Shu. Yeah. This is the kanji for protagonist because it's Shu, and then you do Ake, the first kanji of Akechi's name, and then it's Shuake. But yeah, it's a play on the kanji for like main character or hero. I got so many ideas for hand tattoos, but I wouldn't get them. I think I could regret seeing something like that every day. Yeah, I think that'd be the only thing. The thing, like, I've always kind of had a dream of, like, it would be cool to design my own tattoo and tattoo myself, but at the same time, that also sounds like a nightmare because I am my own worst critic, and the idea of tattooing something onto myself and then seeing the flaws in it and, like, seeing, like, oh my god, like, that line is wrong, or oh my god, this, would make me want to die. I had somebody once try to commission me to design them like a tattoo sleeve. And I don't think they knew my art super well. I think that they saw me on a Discord server and they just saw that I was an artist and reached out because they wanted like a lot of like anime stuff. Like they wanted a big sleeve that was combining all their like favorite anime. And they didn't really like know exactly what they wanted. They just like listed a shit ton of anime and were like, I want something with like all these combined. And I was like, okay, A, that would be very expensive to commission me. B, I'm not crazy comfortable with drawing that for you. Because if it's going to be on your body, like that is A, kind of weird, and also B, not my expertise. So you need to talk to somebody else. And I kind of politely denied them. But it was still like cool that they like reached out, I guess. But the idea of like designing somebody's tattoo is very scary to me. I want a time gear. Oh, the aspects are so fucking sick. I would also get a time gear. I would get so many things on my body as tattoos. If I could make tattoos only last a year, like if I could get a semi-permanent tattoo that lasted maybe a year to 2 years, I would get so many. I would get so many. The fact that it's like fully permanent kind of sucks. I wonder if there's like, is that a thing that exists? Do like long-term temporary tattoos exist? I mean like time gear from Pokemon, but also yeah. Oh, even better. That's even more based. Oh my god, that's even more based. Oh my god, I love Mystery of Time. Holy fuck. That's a throwback. Oh my god, I cried at the ending. I played that when I was a kid. Cried at the ending. Every fucking time. I replayed it a few years ago too, and I cried then. Yeah, that'd be so cool. Yeah, I wish. I'm surprised that technology doesn't already exist. If it doesn't, temporary tattoos, year long. Ephemeral tattoos, tattoos that were made to fade. I wonder if they actually fade though. Like, does it remain a little bit? Does it leave any marks on your skin? Because I think that would be cool. It'd be perfect to know whether you would want it permanent. Yeah, that too. Like, you put it on you and you can decide whether you want it permanent after that. I feel like that's such a good idea. And then it's also like, if you just wanna, if you don't want to fully commit to something for a year, then you could do like kind of fun tattoos where it's like, you know, a fandom thing or whatever. And then you could kind of let it go. Anyway, we have been streaming for a while, and I need to go get work done. But we've just been hanging out. So I'm probably actually gonna go dip now. I'm gonna go eat something and work more on my Homestuck animation. So I hope you all have a lovely, lovely weekend. We will talk on Monday to do the next chapter. And yeah, I hope you guys all have a lovely night. I'll talk to you guys all then. Bye. I might stream over the weekend and not, like, obviously not reading stuff, but I might stream and just do some art stuff. We'll see. But if not, I will talk to you guys then. Good night. Bye-bye.